Before your life ends, ask yourself one painful question. Did you ever truly feel peace, or did you only survive every day with a tired mind? Most people are not dying from life itself. They are dying slowly from overthinking, stress, regret, fear, comparison, and silent emotional exhaustion. They wake up tired, smile like everything is fine, and carry a war inside their mind that nobody can see. But Buddhism teaches a powerful truth. Life is too short to spend it fighting your own thoughts. You were not born just to worry, suffer, chase, prove, and collapse inside. You were born to breathe deeply, live consciously, and feel the quiet peace that already exists beneath all the noise. So before time runs out, before your years disappear, before you realize too late that you wasted your life mentally exhausting yourself, listen carefully, because these Buddhist lessons may help you stop torturing your mind and finally experience the inner peace your soul has been begging for. 1. Stop fighting every thought inside your mind. In Buddhism, one of the biggest causes of suffering is becoming attached to your thoughts. Most people believe every thought that enters their mind is true. They spend the entire day arguing with themselves inside their head. They replay painful memories again and again, overthink simple situations, imagine the worst possible future, and create fear about things that have not even happened yet. Slowly, their mind becomes noisy, heavy, and emotionally exhausted. The Buddha taught that thoughts are like clouds moving across the sky. They naturally come and go. Some thoughts are positive, some are negative, and some are simply meaningless. But suffering begins when you hold on to every thought, fear every thought, or allow every thought to control your emotions. A peaceful person is not someone who never has negative thoughts. A peaceful person is someone who understands that thoughts are temporary and does not let them take over their entire life. Look at how many people live today. One small comment ruins their peace for the whole day. One mistake makes them feel worthless. One bad memory keeps repeating in their mind for years. They replay old conversations while lying in bed at night. They think about what they should have said, what they should have done, and what could go wrong tomorrow. Their body may be sitting quietly, but inside their mind there is constant stress and emotional noise. 2. Life becomes heavy when you try to control everything. One of the biggest reasons people lose inner peace is because they try to control everything in life. They try to control situations, people, relationships, outcomes, and even the future itself. But the more they try to force life to happen exactly the way they want, the more stressed and mentally exhausted they become. In Buddhism, suffering often begins when we become too attached to expectations. We expect people to behave a certain way. We expect life to go according to our plans. We expect everything to stay stable and predictable. But life does not work like that. People change, situations change, plans fail, unexpected problems appear. And when reality does not match our expectations, frustration and anxiety begin to grow inside the mind. Many people spend years worrying about things they cannot fully control. They overthink tomorrow before it even arrives. They fear losing things that are still with them. They mentally create worst-case scenarios again and again until their mind becomes tired all the time. Slowly, peace disappears because their mind never relaxes. The Buddha taught that peace comes from acceptance, not control. This does not mean giving up on life or becoming lazy. It means understanding that some things are simply outside your power, and destroying your mental health over them will not change the outcome. A peaceful person still works hard, still cares, and still tries their best. But deep inside, they learn how to let go of the constant need to control every detail of life. They stop fighting reality every moment of the day. Sometimes life becomes lighter the moment you finally stop forcing everything to happen your way. 3. Stop carrying pain longer than necessary. In Buddhism, holding on to emotional pain for too long creates deep suffering inside the mind. Pain is a natural part of life. Every human being experiences heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment, rejection, failure, and loss at some point. But many people do not just experience pain once. They continue reliving it every single day through their thoughts, memories, and emotions. Even after years have passed, the wound still controls their peace because they never truly allowed themselves to let it go. Some people keep replaying the moment they were hurt over and over again inside their mind. They remember every word, every betrayal, every mistake, and every painful memory as if it happened yesterday. They lie awake at night, thinking about what they should have said, what they should have done differently, or how unfair life treated them. Slowly, their past becomes a prison they carry everywhere they go. The Buddha taught that attachment creates suffering, and this also includes attachment to pain. Many people become emotionally attached to their suffering without realizing it. Their pain becomes part of their identity. They hold on to anger because they believe it protects them. They hold on to resentment because they think letting go means the other person wins. But in reality, holding on to emotional pain only continues hurting the person carrying it. Imagine carrying a heavy stone in your hands every day for years. At first it feels manageable, but slowly your arms become tired, your body becomes weak, and eventually the weight begins destroying your peace. Emotional pain works the same way. The longer you carry bitterness, regret, guilt, and anger inside your heart, the heavier your life begins to feel. Many people are physically living in the present, but mentally living in the past. Their body moved forward, but their mind stayed trapped inside old wounds. This is why they struggle to feel peace, even during beautiful moments. Deep inside, unresolved pain continues draining their emotional energy. In Buddhism, forgiveness is not about pretending nothing happened. It is not about allowing people to hurt you again. Forgiveness means freeing your own mind from the poison of constant resentment. It means choosing peace over endless emotional suffering. Sometimes the person who hurt you already moved on with their life, while you are still carrying the pain every single day inside your own heart. The truth is, life becomes very exhausting when you keep reopening emotional wounds that time was trying to heal. Some chapters of life are meant to end. Some people are meant to leave your journey. Some disappointments are meant to teach you lessons, not destroy your future forever. A peaceful mind understands that healing begins the moment you stop feeding old pain with constant attention. You cannot fully enjoy the present while emotionally chained to the past. At some point, you must make the decision to release what is no longer helping your soul grow. Life is already short. Do not spend your entire life carrying pain that was never meant to stay inside your heart forever. 4. Your mind becomes peaceful. When you stop comparing yourself, one of the fastest ways to destroy inner peace is constantly comparing yourself to other people. In Buddhism, comparison creates suffering because it keeps the mind trapped in dissatisfaction. No matter what you have, no matter how far you grow, someone will always appear more successful, more attractive, richer, smarter, or happier than you. And if your happiness depends on being better than everyone else, then peace will always remain out of reach. Many people today wake up and immediately begin comparing their lives without even realizing it. They open social media and see people traveling, buying expensive things, getting attention, achieving success, or living what looks like a perfect life. Slowly, their mind begins whispering painful thoughts. Why is my life not like that? Why am I behind? Why am I not successful yet? Why does everyone else seem happier than me? Little by little, comparison steals gratitude from the heart. Instead of appreciating their own journey, people become obsessed with what they are lacking. They stop seeing their blessings because they are too busy measuring their life against someone else's highlight reel. The Buddha taught that attachment to desire creates suffering, and comparison constantly creates new desires inside the mind. The moment you achieve one thing, your mind immediately looks at someone who has more. So satisfaction never lasts. Peace never arrives. Your mind keeps chasing an imaginary finish line that constantly moves further away. This is why many people secretly feel exhausted, even when life is going well. They cannot enjoy what they already have because they are emotionally focused on what others have instead. They compare their body, their money, their relationships, their appearance, their progress, and even their happiness. Slowly, this creates insecurity, jealousy, frustration, and emotional emptiness. But Buddhism teaches something powerful. Every person is walking a completely different path in life. Everyone has different struggles, different timing, pain, and different lessons to learn. Some people bloom early in life, others bloom later. Some people struggle privately while appearing successful publicly. Some people look happy outside while silently suffering inside. You never truly know what another person is carrying behind closed doors. A flower does not waste time comparing itself to another flower. It simply grows in its own season. In the same way, your journey does not need to look like anyone else's to still have meaning and value. Many people lose years of peace trying to prove themselves to others. They chase validation, attention, and approval because deep inside they want to feel enough. But true peace begins when you stop building your self-worth around other people's lives, opinions, and achievements. A peaceful person focuses more on growth than comparison. They stop competing with the world and begin improving themselves quietly. Instead of asking, "Why am I not like them?" they ask, "How can I become a better version of myself?" This small shift changes everything. When you stop comparing yourself constantly, your mind becomes lighter. You stop feeling behind in life. You stop rushing your journey. You stop hating yourself for not having everything immediately. And for the first time in a long time, you begin appreciating your own life again. In Buddhism, gratitude is one of the doors to inner peace. The more grateful you become for your own path, the less power comparison has over your mind. You begin noticing the beauty already present in your life, instead of constantly focusing on what is missing. The truth is, comparison steals joy from millions of people every single day. It turns life into a competition instead of an experience. It makes people feel poor even when they have enough, unattractive even when they are beautiful, and unsuccessful even when they are growing. But your peace returns the moment you stop measuring your worth against the world. Because real happiness was never about becoming better than everyone else. Real happiness comes from finally being at peace with yourself. 5. Protect your energy from unnecessary noise. One of the biggest reasons people feel mentally exhausted today is because their mind never truly rests. From the moment they wake up until the moment they sleep, their attention is constantly being pulled in different directions. Notifications, social media, arguments, news, pressure, opinions, drama, and endless information keep filling the mind every single day. Slowly, the brain becomes overloaded, emotions become unstable, and inner peace starts disappearing little by little. In Buddhism, silence and stillness are deeply important because a peaceful mind cannot grow in constant chaos. The Buddha often spent time away from noise, distraction, and unnecessary conflict, because he understood that clarity comes when the mind becomes quiet. But many people today are surrounded by noise every moment of their lives. Even when they are physically alone, their mind is still crowded with stress, overthinking, and emotional pressure. Many people do not realize how much unnecessary negativity they consume every day. They scroll through social media for hours watching conflict, comparison, anger, fake lifestyles, and endless distractions. They involve themselves in drama that has nothing to do with their own life. They listen to negative people constantly complain, gossip, judge others, and spread emotional toxicity. Over time, all of this slowly affects the mind and emotional state without them noticing. The human mind absorbs energy very easily. If you surround yourself with negativity every day, negativity slowly becomes your normal emotional state. If you constantly feed your mind fear, anger, stress, and comparison, your peace naturally becomes weaker. This is why many people feel emotionally drained without understanding the real reason. Their mind is carrying too much noise that was never necessary in the first place. In Buddhism, protecting your inner peace is considered wisdom, not selfishness. You do not need to involve yourself in every argument. You do not need to respond to every opinion. You do not need to carry everyone's emotional problems inside your own heart. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do for your mind is to step away from unnecessary chaos. Many people lose their peace because they give too much energy to things that do not truly matter. They waste hours stressing over people's opinions. They mentally fight strangers online. They keep toxic relationships alive out of guilt. They constantly try to explain themselves to people who already misunderstand them. Slowly, their emotional energy becomes weaker and weaker. A peaceful person learns something powerful. Not everything deserves access to your mind. Not every conversation deserves your attention. Not every friendship deserves your energy. Not every piece of news deserves your emotional reaction. Not every opinion deserves space inside your heart. The more carefully you protect your mental space, the calmer your life becomes. Many people are addicted to noise because silence forces them to face themselves. When everything becomes quiet, unresolved emotions, fears, loneliness, and pain suddenly become visible. So instead of healing, they distract themselves constantly. But Buddhism teaches that healing begins when you stop running from your own mind and finally sit peacefully with yourself. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is where clarity begins. When you spend time away from constant stimulation, your mind slowly becomes lighter. Your emotions settle down. Your thoughts become clearer. You stop reacting emotionally to everything around you. You begin noticing things you ignored before, like the beauty of nature, your breathing, peaceful moments, and the simple joy of being alive. Protecting your peace sometimes requires distance. Distance from toxic people, distance from endless drama, distance from environments that constantly drain your soul. Some people will never understand your need for peace because they are addicted to chaos themselves. But you must remember that protecting your mental health is more important than pleasing everyone around you. Life becomes much lighter when you stop allowing unnecessary noise to control your emotional state every day. Your energy is precious, your peace is valuable, and not everything in this world deserves a place inside your mind. 6. Accept that nothing lasts forever. One of the most powerful teachings in Buddhism is the truth of impermanence. Everything in life changes. Nothing stays the same forever. People change, emotions change, relationships change, and even the strongest moments eventually pass away. But many people suffer deeply because they try to hold on to things as if they were meant to last forever. Human beings naturally become attached to what feels comfortable. They become attached to youth, success, relationships, routines, money, beauty, and the life they are familiar with. They want happy moments to stay forever and painful moments to disappear immediately. But life does not move according to human attachment. Life keeps changing whether we are ready for it or not. In Buddhism, suffering often begins when people resist this natural change. They become emotionally destroyed when life no longer looks the way it once did. A relationship ends, and they feel like their world is collapsing. They lose money, and suddenly they lose their peace too. They grow older and become afraid because they cannot stop time from moving forward. Instead of accepting change as part of life, they mentally fight reality every single day. But the Buddha taught that understanding impermanence actually creates inner peace. Why? Because when you truly understand that everything changes, you stop clinging so tightly to every moment, every emotion, and every situation. You begin realizing that difficult times will not last forever. Storms pass, sadness fades. Even the hardest chapter of your life will eventually become a memory. Many people forget this when they are suffering. During painful moments, they believe life will always feel this heavy. They think the sadness will never end. But Buddhism teaches that emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent identities. Just like the weather changes naturally, human emotions also rise and fall. At the same time, impermanence also teaches something very important about beautiful moments. The people you love will not be here forever. Your current age will not last forever. The opportunities, conversations, and simple moments you ignore today may one day become memories you wish you could relive again. This is why inner peace grows when gratitude becomes stronger than attachment. When you deeply understand that life is temporary, you stop wasting so much time on meaningless stress. You stop delaying happiness. You stop mentally torturing yourself over small problems that will not even matter years from now. You begin appreciating ordinary moments more deeply because you realize nothing is guaranteed forever. Many people live as if they have endless time. They postpone joy, postpone peace, postpone rest, and postpone love while constantly chasing more and more. But one day they suddenly realize life moved faster than they expected. Years disappeared, people disappeared, opportunities disappeared, and the peace they kept delaying was never fully experienced. In Buddhism, awareness of impermanence is not meant to make you fearful. It is meant to wake you up. It reminds you to live more consciously and peacefully while you still can. The truth is, everything you are stressing about right now will eventually pass. Every painful season changes. Every chapter ends. Nothing in life remains frozen forever. Even your own life is temporary. One day your body will grow weak. One day your hair will turn gray. One day your time here will end completely. And when that moment comes, most of the things you worried about so deeply will no longer matter at all. So why spend your limited life carrying endless anxiety every single day? Why destroy your peace over things you cannot keep forever anyway? The Buddha taught that peace comes when you stop trying to hold life too tightly. You begin flowing with life instead of constantly fighting against change. You accept that happiness and pain are both temporary visitors. You stop demanding permanence from an impermanent world. And strangely, the moment you stop trying to control and hold on to everything forever, your heart finally becomes lighter. Because inner peace begins when you fully accept the truth that nothing lasts forever. 7. Inner peace is created within you, not found outside. Most people spend their entire lives searching for peace in the outside world without realizing that real peace was never something external. They believe peace will finally arrive after they become successful, after they make more money, after they find the perfect relationship, after people start respecting them, or after life finally becomes easier. So they keep chasing, and chasing, hoping one day they will finally feel complete inside. But in Buddhism, one of the deepest truths is that inner peace cannot be permanently created by external things. External things constantly change. Money comes and goes, relationships change. Success fades, people's opinions change, beauty changes, circumstances change. If your peace depends entirely on things outside yourself, then your peace will always remain unstable. This is why so many people who appear successful on the outside still feel empty and emotionally exhausted inside. Some people have wealth but cannot sleep peacefully at night. Some people are surrounded by attention but still feel lonely inside their own heart. Some people achieve everything they once dreamed of and still quietly feel dissatisfied with life. They spent years chasing external success while completely neglecting the condition of their inner world. The Buddha taught that suffering begins when we depend too heavily on external conditions for happiness. Human beings become emotionally attached to temporary things and expect them to permanently satisfy the mind. But the mind always wants more. After achieving one goal, it quickly creates another desire. After reaching one destination, it immediately starts chasing the next one. Because of this, many people spend their entire life running without ever truly arriving anywhere emotionally. Look carefully at the modern world. Most people are mentally restless all the time. Even during moments of peace, their mind continues searching for something else. They cannot sit quietly without grabbing their phone. They cannot enjoy the present moment without worrying about the future. They cannot rest without feeling guilty for not being productive enough. Their body may stop moving, but their mind keeps running endlessly. This is why inner peace has become so rare. People have trained themselves to constantly seek stimulation, validation, distraction, and emotional satisfaction from the outside world. But no external achievement can permanently calm a chaotic mind. If someone feels empty inside, more money alone will not fix it. If someone hates themselves internally, attention from others will not heal them. If someone's mind is constantly negative, even a beautiful life will eventually start feeling heavy. In Buddhism, true peace begins when you stop expecting the world to constantly complete you emotionally. Instead of depending entirely on outside circumstances, you begin building stability within yourself. A peaceful person is not someone with a perfect life. A peaceful person is someone who learned how to remain emotionally grounded even when life becomes imperfect. This is one of the most important differences many people never understand. They think peace means having zero problems. But Buddhism teaches that peace comes from changing your relationship with life itself. Problems will always exist in some form. Challenges will always appear. Difficult emotions will still visit you sometimes. But when your inner world becomes stronger, those things no longer destroy your entire emotional state so easily. Many people spend years trying to control the world while completely ignoring their own mind. They focus on changing everyone around them, fixing every situation, and chasing endless achievements, but they never sit quietly with themselves long enough to understand what is actually happening inside their own heart. The truth is, if your mind is constantly filled with fear, anger, insecurity, jealousy, and comparison and overthinking, then even beautiful moments will eventually feel empty. A person can sit in paradise while carrying hell inside their own mind. This is why Buddhism places so much importance on self-awareness. You must learn how your own mind works. You must observe your habits, your reactions, your attachments, and your emotional patterns. Because inner peace is not something another person can hand to you. It is something you slowly build through awareness, discipline, acceptance, and understanding. Many people are uncomfortable being alone because they never learned how to feel peaceful within themselves. Silence feels heavy to them. Solitude feels uncomfortable. The moment distractions disappear, unresolved emotions suddenly become visible. So they constantly keep themselves busy to avoid facing their own thoughts. But Buddhism teaches that running away from yourself only creates more suffering. Healing begins when you finally stop escaping your own inner world. Sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is sit quietly and simply observe their own mind without judgment. At first, this feels uncomfortable because the mind is used to noise. But slowly, something beautiful begins happening. The emotional storms become less powerful, thoughts become calmer, reactions become softer. The mind slowly learns how to rest again. This is why meditation is such an important part of Buddhism. Meditation is not about becoming perfect. It is about learning how to sit peacefully with yourself, instead of constantly being controlled by your thoughts. It teaches you that you do not need to react emotionally to every fear, every memory, every craving, or every negative thought that appears in your mind. The more aware you become, the less power your thoughts have over you. Inner peace also grows when you stop needing constant validation from others. Many people secretly live their entire life trying to be accepted, admired, praised, or approved by everyone around them. They become emotionally dependent on attention. Their self-worth rises and falls based on how people treat them. This creates deep emotional instability. When people praise them, they feel valuable. When people criticize them, they feel worthless. When people give attention, they feel important. When people ignore them, they feel invisible. Their emotional state becomes controlled by the behavior of other people. But Buddhism teaches that true peace begins when your value no longer depends entirely on external approval. You stop living for applause. You stop shaping your life around other people's opinions. You stop needing everyone to understand you all the time. A peaceful person understands that not everyone will like them, agree with them, or appreciate them, and they no longer allow that reality to destroy their inner stability. This creates emotional freedom. Another reason people struggle to find peace is because they constantly resist the present moment. They are physically in one place, while mentally trapped somewhere else. When they are young, they want to grow older faster. When they grow older, they desperately wish to return to the past. When life is difficult, they constantly think, "I will finally be happy later." So they keep postponing peace into the future while ignoring the present completely. But Buddhism teaches that life only exists in the present moment. The past already disappeared. The future has not arrived yet. This current moment is the only place life is actually happening. Yet many people spend most of their lives mentally absent from their own existence. They eat without awareness, walk without awareness, speak without awareness, live without awareness. Their mind is constantly somewhere else. Inner peace begins when you fully return to the present moment again. When you notice your breathing, when you appreciate simple moments, when you stop rushing through life endlessly, when you become mentally present with the people around you, when you stop turning every moment into stress, pressure, and overthinking. Many people think happiness must come from extraordinary experiences. But Buddhism teaches that deep peace is often found in simple awareness. A quiet morning, a calm breath, silence, nature, stillness, gratitude, presence. The problem is not that peace is rare. The problem is that most minds are too distracted to notice it. The modern world constantly teaches people to chase more money, more success, more attention, more possessions, more validation. But Buddhism teaches the opposite direction. Peace often comes not from adding more to your life, but from removing what is unnecessary. Removing unnecessary stress, removing unhealthy attachment, removing endless comparison, removing toxic environments, removing constant mental noise. A peaceful mind becomes lighter because it no longer carries unnecessary emotional weight everywhere it goes. This does not mean life suddenly becomes perfect. You will still experience sadness sometimes. You will still experience uncertainty, disappointment, and pain, because that is part of being human. But inner peace changes how deeply those things control you. Instead of drowning inside emotions, you learn how to observe them calmly. Instead of mentally collapsing during difficulty, you remain more emotionally balanced. Instead of fighting every uncomfortable moment, you slowly learn acceptance. That is real strength in Buddhism. Not pretending pain does not exist, but developing a peaceful mind that is no longer destroyed by every difficulty life brings. Many people spend their entire life searching everywhere for peace except within themselves. They travel, chase success, buy things, seek attention, and constantly move from one distraction to another, hoping something external will finally remove the emptiness they feel inside. But eventually, many discover the painful truth. No external achievement can permanently heal an unpeaceful mind. At some point, every human being must sit alone with themselves. And in that silence, money, status, beauty, and attention suddenly become far less important than the condition of the mind itself. Because at the end of life, your inner world is what you truly live with every single day. Not your social status, not your followers, not your possessions, not your image. Your mind becomes your home. And if your own mind feels like a prison, then no external success will ever fully satisfy you. This is why Buddhism teaches that creating peace within yourself may be one of the most important things you ever do in life. Because life moves incredibly fast. Years disappear quickly. People leave, age, moments pass, opportunities fade, and one day your entire life will become a memory. So do not spend your precious existence endlessly chasing peace outside yourself while neglecting your inner world completely. Learn how to sit peacefully with yourself. Learn how to calm your mind. Learn how to let go. Learn how to live more slowly and consciously. Learn how to appreciate the present moment before it disappears forever. Because real peace was never hiding somewhere far away from you. It was always waiting quietly within you underneath the noise, fear, attachment, and endless mental exhaustion. And the moment you finally stop searching for peace everywhere outside yourself, you may discover that the peace you were looking for has been inside you all along. 8. Stop mentally torturing yourself over a life that has not even happened yet. One of the biggest reasons people lose inner peace is because they spend most of their lives suffering over things that have not even happened yet. Their mind constantly lives in the future. They worry about tomorrow, fear failure, imagine rejection, expect disaster, and mentally create painful situations before reality even arrives. Instead of living life, they spend years emotionally preparing for problems that may never happen at all. In Buddhism, this kind of mental suffering is deeply connected to fear, attachment, and lack of awareness. The human mind naturally wants certainty. It wants to know what will happen next. It wants guarantees about the future. But life has never promised certainty to anyone. Life constantly changes. The future is always unknown. And when people try to mentally control every possible outcome, anxiety slowly takes over their entire mind. Look carefully at how many people live today. Their body is sitting in the present moment, but mentally they are already suffering in an imaginary future. They worry about losing people who are still with them. They fear failure before even trying. They imagine embarrassing situations that never happen. They create entire conversations inside their head. They mentally rehearse pain over and over again until their nervous system becomes exhausted. This is why so many people feel mentally tired all the time, even when nothing terrible is happening in their actual life. Their suffering is not coming from reality itself. It is coming from the endless fear-filled stories their mind keeps creating. The Buddha taught that much of human suffering is created not by life itself, but by the way the mind reacts to life. Two people can face the exact same situation while experiencing completely different emotional realities. One person remains calm and accepting, while the other mentally collapses from fear and overthinking. The difference is not always the situation. The difference is often the condition of the mind. Many people have trained their mind to automatically expect danger everywhere. This often happens after emotional pain, betrayal, heartbreak, disappointment, or failure. The mind becomes afraid of suffering again, so it constantly tries to predict and prepare for every possible negative outcome. But instead of creating safety, this habit creates permanent anxiety. The mind begins saying things like, "What if I fail? What if they leave me? What if everything goes wrong? What if I embarrass myself? What if I lose everything? What if I never become successful? What if life never gets better?" Slowly, these thoughts become constant background noise inside the mind. Even during peaceful moments, fear continues whispering in the background. People become unable to relax because they are always mentally preparing for something bad to happen next. In Buddhism, awareness teaches something extremely important. Most thoughts about the future are only mental projections, not reality. The future exists only as imagination until it actually arrives. Yet many people destroy their peace today because of imagined pain tomorrow. Think about how much life people miss because of this habit. They cannot enjoy conversations fully because they are overthinking. They cannot rest peacefully because they are worrying about the future. They cannot appreciate beautiful moments because their mind keeps running toward possible problems ahead. A peaceful mind understands that worrying about the future does not protect you from pain. It only steals peace from the present moment. This does not mean you should never plan for the future. Buddhism does not teach irresponsibility. Planning calmly is healthy, but there is a huge difference between planning wisely and mentally torturing yourself every day with endless fear. Many people confuse overthinking with preparation. They believe constant worrying somehow gives them control. But in reality, overthinking often weakens the mind instead of strengthening it. The more fear-filled thoughts you repeat daily, the more emotionally exhausted you become. Your nervous system was not designed to stay trapped in survival mode every moment of the day. This is why so many people struggle with stress, anxiety, sleeplessness, emotional burnout, and mental exhaustion. Their mind never truly rests. Even during peaceful moments, they are mentally fighting imaginary futures. The Buddha taught that peace becomes possible when you return your awareness to the present moment instead of constantly living inside mental projections. Right now, in this moment, many of the things you fear do not actually exist, but your mind reacts as if they are already real. This is how powerful thoughts can become. A person can destroy their own peace without anything physically happening at all. Many people are suffering from imagined futures more than present reality. And sadly, this habit steals years of life from them. Some people spend their youth worrying, then they spend adulthood worrying, then they grow old still worrying. And one day they realize they spent most of their life mentally afraid instead of fully alive. Life becomes very sad when fear controls more moments than peace. In Buddhism, mindfulness teaches you how to gently bring your attention back to the present whenever the mind begins wandering too far into fear and imagination. You notice your breathing. You observe your thoughts calmly. You stop automatically believing every fearful story your mind creates. This small awareness changes everything, because once you begin observing your thoughts instead of blindly following them, you realize how often the mind exaggerates danger. Many fears never happen, many disasters never arrive, many situations turn out far better than expected, but people still lose years of peace worrying about them beforehand. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones every single day. Each stone represents a fear about the future. One stone for money, one for relationships, one for failure, one for health, one for people's opinions, one for uncertainty. Over time, the backpack becomes heavier and heavier until simply living starts feeling exhausting. This is how overthinking affects the mind. Most people are not only carrying today's problems, they are carrying tomorrow's imaginary problems too. No wonder their soul feels tired. The truth is, life already contains enough real challenges. There is no need to mentally create extra suffering before it arrives. Many people ruin opportunities because fear controls them too deeply. They avoid taking risks because they already imagined failure. They avoid love because they fear heartbreak. They avoid speaking because they fear judgment. They avoid growth because uncertainty scares them. Slowly, fear shrinks their entire life. And the painful part is this: most of the suffering existed only inside the mind. The Buddha taught that fear becomes weaker when you stop feeding it constant attention. Every time you repeatedly think about worst-case scenarios, you strengthen those mental patterns. The brain begins treating fear as normal. Eventually, anxiety becomes automatic, but peace grows the same way. The more often you practice returning to the present moment, the calmer the mind slowly becomes. The more you stop reacting emotionally to every fearful thought, the less power those thoughts have over you. Inner peace is not created by eliminating uncertainty from life. Inner peace is created by becoming mentally stronger than uncertainty itself. This is one of the deepest Buddhist lessons. Life will always contain unknowns. You cannot control every outcome. You cannot predict every future event. You cannot guarantee that pain will never touch your life again. But you can learn how to stop mentally collapsing every time uncertainty appears. Many people believe peace will finally arrive once life comes completely secure and predictable. But that day never truly comes. There will always be new challenges, changes, responsibilities, and uncertainties waiting somewhere ahead. So if peace depends on perfect certainty, peace may never arrive at all. This is why Buddhism teaches acceptance instead of control. A peaceful person still makes plans, still works hard, and still cares about the future. But deep inside, they stop demanding total certainty from life. They accept that uncertainty is part of being human. And strangely, this acceptance creates emotional freedom. The mind becomes calmer when it no longer fights uncertainty every second of the day. One of the most beautiful truths in Buddhism is understanding that this current moment is enough. Right now you are alive. Right now you are breathing. Right now life is happening directly in front of you. Yet many people completely miss the present because they are too busy fearing tomorrow. They postpone peace endlessly. I will relax later. I will enjoy life after success. I will finally feel calm once everything is solved. But life keeps moving. Years pass quickly. And the peaceful future they imagined never fully arrives, because the mind always creates another fear afterward. This is why awareness matters so deeply. When you drink water, fully drink the water. When you walk, fully walk. When you speak with someone, fully be there. When you rest, truly rest. These simple moments reconnect you to life itself. Most people are mentally absent from their own existence because their mind constantly lives somewhere else. But peace can only be experienced in the present moment, not in tomorrow, not in imagined disasters. not in endless mental rehearsals, only here, only now. Many people are addicted to overthinking because it gives the illusion of control. The mind believes, if I think about every possible problem long enough, maybe I can prevent pain. But endless worrying has never guaranteed safety. It only guarantees exhaustion. In fact, many of the moments people feared most in life either never happened or became manageable once they actually arrived. Human beings are often stronger than they realize. But fear makes the future appear much more terrifying inside the imagination. This is why Buddhism teaches calm awareness instead of panic. You stop asking, how can I control everything? And begin asking, how can I remain peaceful no matter what life brings? That question changes the entire direction of your mind, because true peace does not come from controlling the future perfectly. True peace comes from trusting yourself enough to handle life one moment at a time. The Buddha understood something many people never realize. The mind can become its own prison if left uncontrolled. A fearful mind can turn peaceful days into suffering. An anxious mind can turn small problems into emotional disasters. An overthinking mind can steal joy from beautiful moments. This is why protecting the mind is so important in Buddhism. Your thoughts shape your emotional experience of life. If your mind constantly lives in fear, life will always feel dangerous. If your mind constantly lives in gratitude and awareness, life begins feeling lighter and more meaningful. The future will always remain uncertain, but uncertainty itself is not the enemy. The real danger is allowing fear of the future to steal the present moment completely. One day, your life will end. And when that moment comes, imagine realizing you spent most of your years mentally worried instead of truly alive. Imagine realizing you survived thousands of imaginary disasters that never even happened. Imagine seeing how much beauty you missed because your mind was trapped somewhere in the future. That is why Buddhism teaches awareness so deeply. Because life is not happening tomorrow. Life is happening right now. And peace begins the moment you stop mentally torturing yourself over a future that does not even exist yet. 9. Do not reach the end of life without ever truly living peacefully. One of the saddest truths about human life is that many people spend their entire existence chasing survival while never truly feeling peace inside their heart. They wake up stressed, live under pressure, overthink constantly, carry emotional pain silently, and move through life mentally exhausted. Years pass quickly, but their mind never truly rests. They keep telling themselves that one day things will finally calm down, one day happiness will arrive, one day they will finally relax and enjoy life. But for many people, that peaceful day never fully comes. In Buddhism, one of the deepest forms of suffering is living disconnected from the present moment and never understanding the true value of inner peace before life ends. Human beings often spend too much time chasing things that eventually disappear, while ignoring the condition of their own mind completely. People sacrifice their health for money, then later sacrifice money trying to restore health. They sacrifice peace trying to impress others, then later realize those people never truly mattered. They spend years overthinking small problems, then one day understand how temporary everything really was. Life moves incredibly fast, yet most people live as if they have endless time. When people are young, they believe they have forever ahead of them. They postpone happiness. They postpone rest. They postpone healing. They postpone enjoying simple moments because they are too busy chasing goals, attention, approval, and security. They keep saying, I will finally relax later. I will be happy after success. I will enjoy life once my problems disappear. But life never becomes completely free from problems. There will always be responsibilities. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be challenges. There will always be something demanding your attention. If peace depends on perfect conditions, many people will never experience true peace at all. The Buddha taught that suffering often comes from misunderstanding the nature of life itself. Human beings become attached to temporary things, while forgetting that life is constantly changing. Nothing stays forever. Youth fades, beauty changes, possessions disappear, people come and go. Even the body itself slowly changes with time. Yet many people live as if these things are permanent. This creates fear. Fear of loss, fear of aging, fear of failure, fear of death, fear of uncertainty. And because of this fear, the mind becomes restless. Many people do not realize how much of their life is being stolen by mental suffering. Their body may physically survive for decades, but emotionally they are trapped inside stress, anxiety, comparison, anger, regret, and endless overthinking. Instead of truly living, they are mentally surviving each day. Look carefully at modern life. People rarely sit peacefully anymore. Even during moments of rest, their mind keeps running endlessly. They scroll constantly, compare constantly, worry constantly, chase constantly. Their nervous system never fully relaxes. Many people have forgotten what inner stillness even feels like. This is why so many individuals secretly feel emotionally empty, despite having achievements, entertainment, technology, and endless distractions around them. External stimulation has increased, but inner peace has become weaker. In Buddhism, peace is not just a pleasant emotion. Peace is freedom from unnecessary mental suffering. It is the ability to sit with yourself without constantly feeling restless inside. It is the ability to experience life without your mind turning every moment into fear, pressure, or emotional chaos. A peaceful person is not someone who escaped all pain. A peaceful person is someone who no longer allows pain to completely control their mind. This is an important difference. Many people wait their entire life for external conditions to finally give them peace. But Buddhism teaches that peace begins internally. The outside world will always change. There will always be uncertainty somewhere. If your peace depends entirely on life staying perfect, your peace will remain fragile forever. Real peace is built within the mind itself. This is why two people can live completely different emotional realities while experiencing similar situations. One person collapses emotionally during difficulty, while another remains calm and grounded. The difference is not always life itself. The difference is often the relationship each person has with their own mind. The Buddha understood that the uncontrolled mind creates enormous suffering. A fearful mind can turn ordinary situations into disasters. An angry mind can destroy relationships. An attached mind creates endless dissatisfaction. A restless mind can steal joy from even beautiful moments. This is why awareness is so important in Buddhism. Most people move through life unconsciously. They react automatically to emotions without observing them. They follow every thought without questioning it. They become controlled by cravings, fears, and attachments without realizing it. But awareness changes everything. The moment you begin observing your mind carefully, you start understanding how much unnecessary suffering is being created internally. You notice how often the mind exaggerates problems. You notice how often fear creates imaginary disasters. You notice how attachment creates emotional pain. You notice how comparison steals gratitude. You notice how overthinking drains your energy. And slowly, you begin separating yourself from the chaos inside the mind. This creates inner freedom. Many people believe freedom means having unlimited money, status, or power. But Buddhism teaches that true freedom is freedom from the mental suffering constantly controlling your emotional state. Because a person can live in luxury while mentally trapped in anxiety, and another person can live simply while feeling deeply peaceful inside. This is why peace cannot be bought externally. One of the greatest tragedies in life is reaching old age while realizing you never truly allowed yourself to live peacefully. Imagine spending decades constantly stressed, constantly worried, constantly mentally exhausted, only to realize near the end of life that most of the things you suffered over were temporary and insignificant. Many people carry emotional pain for years that should have been released long ago. They hold on to resentment, regret, anger, and bitterness as if these emotions are protecting them. But in reality, these emotions slowly poison inner peace. Life becomes very heavy when the mind refuses to let go. The Buddha taught that attachment is one of the main roots of suffering. Yet human beings become attached to almost everything, attached to opinions, attached to expectations, attached to identity, attached to control, attached to the past, attached to imagined futures. And every attachment creates fear, because the mind becomes terrified of losing whatever it is holding on to. This is why peace grows when attachment becomes weaker. A peaceful person still cares deeply about life, but they stop clinging desperately to everything. They understand that change is natural. They accept uncertainty more calmly. They stop demanding permanence from temporary experiences. This creates emotional stability. Many people also waste enormous amounts of life trying to become accepted by everyone around them. They shape their personality around approval. They hide their true self to avoid judgment. They constantly worry about how people see them. But no matter how hard you try, not everyone will understand or appreciate you. The Buddha understood this deeply. Seeking endless validation from the world creates emotional exhaustion because people's opinions constantly change. A peaceful person eventually realizes, I cannot spend my entire life trying to control how everyone sees me. This realization creates freedom. The mind becomes lighter when it no longer depends completely on outside approval for self-worth. Another painful truth about life is how quickly time disappears. One moment you are young, and suddenly years have passed. People who were once part of your everyday life slowly disappear. Parents grow older. Friends drift away. Familiar places change. Entire chapters of life quietly end without warning. This is why Buddhism teaches mindfulness so strongly. Mindfulness means becoming fully present in the current moment, instead of mentally living somewhere else all the time. Because most people are physically alive, but mentally absent from their own life. When they eat, they are distracted. When they speak with loved ones, they are distracted. When they walk outside, they are distracted. When beautiful moments happen, they are distracted. Their mind constantly lives inside worries, memories, pressure, and future fears. As a result, life passes by almost unnoticed. But inner peace grows when you begin fully experiencing the present moment again. When you notice the sky, when you appreciate silence, when you breathe consciously, when you stop rushing constantly, when you truly listen to another person, when you allow yourself to simply exist without turning every moment into pressure. Many people think peace must come from something dramatic or extraordinary, but often the deepest peace comes from simple awareness, a quiet morning, a calm breath, nature, stillness, silence, presence. The problem is not that peaceful moments are rare. The problem is that distracted minds fail to notice them. In Buddhism, death itself is not meant to create fear. Awareness of death is meant to create clarity. It reminds you that your time here is limited. It reminds you not to waste your life carrying unnecessary suffering every single day. One day your body will stop breathing. One day all your possessions will remain behind. One day people will continue living without you. One day your entire life will become a memory. And when that moment arrives, many of the things you stressed over so deeply will suddenly appear small and meaningless. The arguments, the comparisons, the opinions, the pressure, the endless overthinking. None of it will matter as much as the condition of your heart and mind. This is why Buddhism asks such an important question. Did you truly live peacefully while you were alive? Not. Did you impress everyone? Did you become richer than others? Did you gain enough status? Did you receive enough validation? But did you experience peace? Did you appreciate life? Did you understand yourself? Did you free your mind from unnecessary suffering? Many people die without ever truly slowing down long enough to ask themselves these questions. They become so busy surviving that they forget how to live consciously. The modern world constantly encourages speed, comparison, competition, and endless productivity. People feel guilty for resting, guilty for slowing down, guilty for doing nothing. But the soul cannot heal in constant chaos. The mind needs stillness sometimes. The heart needs silence sometimes. The body needs rest sometimes. And without these things, inner peace slowly disappears. Many people secretly feel emotionally empty because they abandoned themselves long ago. They became so focused on surviving externally that they stopped caring for their inner world completely. But no external achievement can replace inner peace. No amount of money can fully calm an anxious mind. No amount of attention can heal deep emptiness. No amount of success can permanently satisfy a restless soul. Eventually, every human being must face themselves internally. And in that moment, the quality of your inner world becomes far more important than external appearances. This is why Buddhism teaches compassion toward yourself as well. Many people are constantly harsh toward their own mind. They criticize themselves endlessly, replay mistakes repeatedly, and emotionally punish themselves for not being perfect. But peace cannot grow inside constant self-hatred. A peaceful mind learns acceptance, not laziness, not weakness, but gentle acceptance of being human. You will make mistakes, you will experience pain, you will fail sometimes, you will feel lost sometimes. This is part of life. But suffering becomes much deeper when the mind constantly attacks itself on top of life's difficulties. The Buddha taught the middle path, balance, not extreme attachment, not extreme rejection, not endless chasing, not complete avoidance. Balance creates peace. The truth is, life is incredibly short. Too short to spend every day mentally exhausted. Too short to constantly hate yourself. Too short to live trapped inside fear and comparison. Too short to keep delaying peace for someday. One day you will realize that inner peace was always more valuable than many of the things you once chased so desperately. Because peace changes how life feels. It changes how you experience ordinary moments. It changes how you handle pain. It changes how deeply you enjoy being alive. Without inner peace, even success feels empty. With inner peace, even simple moments become meaningful. So do not wait until the end of life to finally understand this truth. Do not spend your entire existence mentally fighting yourself every single day. Slow down sometimes. Breathe deeply sometimes. Let go sometimes. Rest your mind sometimes. Protect your peace carefully. Because one of the greatest tragedies is not dying itself. The greatest tragedy is reaching the end of life without ever truly experiencing inner peace while you were still alive. 10. Peace begins the moment you finally slow down and return to yourself. One of the biggest problems in modern life is that people have forgotten how to slow down. Everything moves fast now. Fast thoughts, fast conversations, fast entertainment, fast goals, fast lifestyles, and endless pressure to constantly do more. People wake up already stressed, spend the day mentally overwhelmed, and go to sleep emotionally exhausted. Their body keeps moving, but deep inside, their soul becomes tired from carrying so much mental noise every single day. In Buddhism, inner peace cannot grow inside a constantly rushed and distracted mind. The Buddha taught that awareness, stillness, and mindfulness are necessary for a peaceful life. But most people rarely experience true stillness anymore. Even when they stop physically working, their mind continues racing endlessly. They keep thinking, worrying, scrolling, comparing, planning, fearing, and mentally replaying life over and over again. This constant mental movement slowly disconnects people from themselves. Many individuals no longer know how to simply sit quietly without distraction. Silence feels uncomfortable to them. Doing nothing feels strange. The moment everything becomes quiet, their unresolved thoughts and emotions suddenly become visible. So instead of facing themselves, they immediately search for another distraction, another video, another notification, another conversation, another source of stimulation. The modern world has trained people to constantly escape themselves. But Buddhism teaches that peace begins the moment you stop running from your own mind and finally return to yourself again. Many people spend their entire life externally busy but internally lost. They become so focused on surviving, competing, achieving, and pleasing others that they slowly abandon their own emotional well-being. They stop listening to themselves. They stop noticing how exhausted they truly feel inside. Eventually, life starts feeling heavy without them fully understanding why. This is because the human soul was never designed to live in constant emotional chaos. Your mind needs rest. Your heart needs stillness. Your nervous system needs peace. Without these things, emotional exhaustion slowly becomes your normal state of existence. Look carefully at how many people live today. They wake up and immediately grab their phone before even fully breathing consciously. Their mind becomes filled with information, stress and distraction within minutes of opening their eyes. Throughout the day, they constantly consume noise from social media, news, conversations, entertainment, arguments, and endless comparison. By night, their mind feels overwhelmed, yet they continue scrolling because silence feels unfamiliar. Slowly, they lose connection with the present moment completely. In Buddhism, mindfulness teaches something powerful. Life can only truly be experienced when you are mentally present for it. But most people are physically alive while mentally somewhere else. When they eat, they are distracted. When they walk outside, they are distracted. When they speak to loved ones, they are distracted. When beautiful moments happen, their mind is still trapped inside worries, pressure, and overthinking. As a result, life passes quickly without being fully experienced. This is why so many people secretly feel empty even when life looks fine externally. They are constantly stimulated, but rarely deeply connected to the present moment itself. The Buddha understood that peace is not found by endlessly chasing more. Peace is often found when unnecessary noise finally disappears. This is why Buddhism values simplicity so deeply, not because possessions are evil, not because success is wrong, but because endless attachment and mental overstimulation create emotional suffering. Many people believe happiness will finally arrive after they achieve enough, but the mind that constantly chases more rarely feels satisfied for long. One desire gets fulfilled, and immediately another desire appears. One goal is reached, and another pressure replaces it. The cycle never ends. This creates a life where peace is constantly postponed into the future. I will finally relax after this. I will finally be happy later. I will finally rest once I achieve more. But later keeps moving further away, and eventually years disappear. In Buddhism, slowing down does not mean becoming lazy or giving up on goals. It means becoming more conscious about how you live. It means no longer allowing the mind to constantly drag you into stress and emotional chaos every moment of the day. A peaceful person still works, still grows, still dreams, still handles responsibilities. But internally, they stop rushing through life with constant mental panic. They begin creating space inside the mind again, space to breathe, space to think clearly, space to feel calm, space to simply exist without endless pressure. Many people are addicted to busyness because busyness distracts them from unresolved emotions. If they stay constantly occupied, they never have to face loneliness, fear, insecurity, sadness, or inner emptiness. But distractions only temporarily hide emotional pain. They do not heal it. Eventually, every human being must face themselves internally. And this is where Buddhism becomes powerful. Because Buddhism teaches you how to sit peacefully with yourself, instead of constantly escaping your own mind. Meditation is one example of this. Many people misunderstand meditation. They think meditation is about emptying the mind completely or becoming spiritually perfect. But meditation is really about awareness. It teaches you to observe your thoughts without becoming controlled by them. It teaches you to stop reacting emotionally to every fear, every craving, and every negative thought that appears inside your mind. At first, slowing down feels uncomfortable because the mind is used to constant stimulation. The silence may feel strange. Your thoughts may become louder temporarily. Unresolved emotions may rise to the surface. But slowly, something beautiful begins happening. Your breathing becomes calmer. Your nervous system relaxes. Your mind becomes clearer. Your reactions become softer. Your thoughts become less aggressive. And for the first time in a long time, your soul begins resting again. This is why slowing down is so powerful. Many people believe they are exhausted because life is difficult. But often they are exhausted because their mind never stops moving. Even during rest, they overthink. Even during peaceful moments, they worry. Even during success, they fear losing it. Even during happiness, anxiety whispers in the background. This constant mental movement slowly drains emotional energy. The Buddha taught that attachment to constant desire and mental activity creates suffering. The mind always wants more stimulation, more certainty, more control, more validation. But the more the mind chases endlessly, the more restless it becomes. Inner peace grows when the mind finally learns how to become still. Stillness is powerful because it reconnects you with reality itself. When you slow down, you begin noticing things you ignored before: the sound of rain, the feeling of breathing, the beauty of nature, a peaceful morning, the warmth of sunlight, the presence of loved ones. Simple moments that were always there but hidden underneath mental noise. Most people miss these moments because their mind is constantly somewhere else. In Buddhism, awareness of simple moments is deeply important because life itself is made of moments. Not giant achievements every day, not constant excitement. Life is happening quietly all around you right now, but a distracted mind cannot fully experience it. This is why slowing down becomes an act of healing. Many people also emotionally destroy themselves by constantly rushing their journey. They feel behind in life. They compare themselves to others endlessly. They pressure themselves to achieve more faster. They become impatient with their own growth and healing. But Buddhism teaches patience and acceptance. A flower does not bloom faster by panicking. A tree does not grow stronger overnight. Nature itself moves patiently. In the same way, healing, growth, and inner peace also require patience. Many people suffer because they fight their own journey instead of accepting where they currently are. They become angry at themselves for still struggling. They hate themselves for not being better yet. They compare their chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. This creates deep emotional pressure. But a peaceful person understands that growth takes time. They stop mentally attacking themselves constantly. They stop rushing every part of life. They stop demanding perfection from themselves. And this creates emotional gentleness inside the mind. The modern world glorifies being constantly busy. People are praised for overworking themselves, staying exhausted, and sacrificing rest. But Buddhism reminds us that a constantly overwhelmed mind eventually loses clarity, balance, and peace. You cannot pour endlessly from an exhausted soul. This is why rest matters. Silence matters. Stillness matters. Not as weakness, but as emotional survival. Many people are physically alive but emotionally disconnected from themselves because they never pause long enough to truly feel life consciously. They survive years without truly being present for them. But one day, life becomes slower whether you are ready or not. The body ages, people disappear, time passes quickly, and eventually, many people realize they spent most of their years mentally distracted instead of fully alive. This realization can become painful. The Buddha understood how temporary life truly is. This is why Buddhism encourages awareness of the present moment so deeply, because every moment you are mentally absent is a moment of life you never truly experienced. You cannot relive today again. You cannot return to this exact moment later. Life is constantly moving. So why spend your precious existence mentally trapped in endless stress, fear, and emotional noise? Why rush through life without ever truly experiencing peace? One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is permission to slow down internally, to breathe more consciously, to stop mentally fighting everything, to stop chasing endlessly for a moment, to sit quietly sometimes, to reconnect with your own heart again. Many people spend years searching for peace somewhere far away without realizing that peace often begins in very small moments of awareness. A deep breath, a quiet morning, a calm walk, a few moments without distraction, sitting silently with yourself, watching the sky, listening to nature, being fully present with someone you love. These simple moments can heal parts of the mind that endless stimulation never could. But you must slow down enough to notice them. The truth is, your mind becomes clearer when your life becomes less chaotic internally. You stop reacting emotionally to everything. You stop carrying unnecessary stress. You stop turning every problem into a mental disaster. You stop living in survival mode every second of the day. And slowly, peace begins returning naturally. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because your mind finally stopped running endlessly. Many people are waiting for the world to slow down before they allow themselves to feel peace. but the world may never fully slow down. So at some point you must make the decision yourself, to protect your energy, to guard your peace, to step away from unnecessary chaos, to become more conscious about how you live. Because if you do not intentionally create peace within your life, the world will gladly keep your mind distracted forever. And one day you may realize you spent your entire existence constantly busy, but never truly peaceful. Do not let that become your story. Slow down sometimes, rest your mind sometimes, be fully present sometimes. Return to yourself again, because inner peace does not enter a life filled with endless mental noise. It enters quietly, when the mind finally becomes still enough to receive it. 11. The more you chase peace outside yourself, the further it runs away. One of the greatest misunderstandings in life is believing that peace exists somewhere outside of you waiting to be found. Many people spend their entire lives chasing external things, believing those things will finally make them feel calm, complete, and emotionally fulfilled. They chase money, relationships, status, success, attention, luxury, beauty, and approval, hoping that once they achieve enough, the emptiness inside them will finally disappear. But in Buddhism, one of the deepest truths is that inner peace cannot be permanently created by external achievements. External things may temporarily excite the mind, but they cannot permanently calm a restless soul. This is why so many people continue feeling emotionally exhausted, even after getting the things they once believed would finally make them happy. Look carefully at the world today. Some people have wealth but still feel anxious every day. Some have relationships but still feel lonely inside. Some have fame but secretly struggle with emptiness and depression. Some achieve huge success and still feel emotionally dissatisfied afterward. Why? Because the problem was never only outside them, the problem was also inside the mind itself. The Buddha taught that attachment and craving create suffering. Human beings constantly believe, I will finally feel peace after I get this. I will finally relax after I achieve that. I will finally become happy when life looks different. So they keep chasing endlessly. But every time they reach one destination, the mind creates another desire immediately afterward. More money, more validation, more success, more attention, more control, more certainty. The cycle never truly ends. This creates a life where peace is constantly postponed into the future. Many people never fully enjoy what they already have, because their mind is always focused on what is still missing. They achieve one goal and immediately become emotionally restless again, because the mind quickly adapts and starts wanting something else. This is one of the reasons modern life feels so exhausting for many people. The world constantly teaches people to chase more and more without ever teaching them how to feel peaceful with what already exists in the present moment. In Buddhism, this endless craving is like trying to fill a cup with a hole at the bottom. No matter how much you pour into it, it never truly feels full for long. This does not mean goals are bad. This does not mean money or success are evil. The Buddha never taught people to stop living or stop growing, but Buddhism teaches balance. The problem begins when your emotional peace becomes completely dependent on external conditions, because external conditions constantly change. If your peace depends entirely on things outside yourself, your peace becomes fragile and unstable. This is why many people live in constant emotional fear. Fear of losing money, fear of losing relationships, fear of losing beauty, fear of losing status, fear of losing control. The more attached the mind becomes, the more fear it creates. A person who builds their entire identity around external success eventually becomes terrified of failure. A person who depends entirely on attention becomes emotionally destroyed when ignored. A person who bases their worth completely on relationships becomes emotionally unstable when abandoned. This is how attachment slowly steals inner peace. The Buddha understood that true peace must come from a deeper place than temporary external experiences. Real peace is created through awareness, acceptance, understanding, and emotional balance within the mind itself. Many people are trying to escape inner emptiness by constantly filling their life with distractions. They stay busy all the time because silence forces them to face themselves. They keep chasing excitement because calmness feels unfamiliar. They keep consuming entertainment because stillness makes unresolved emotions visible. But distractions only temporarily cover inner suffering. They do not heal it. This is why many people secretly feel emotionally exhausted, even during moments that are supposed to feel successful or enjoyable. Their outer life may appear impressive, but internally the mind remains restless. In Buddhism, peace begins when you stop depending on the world to constantly rescue you emotionally. This is a huge shift in awareness. Instead of asking, "What can I get from life to finally feel complete?" you begin asking, "How can I create peace within myself regardless of what life gives or takes away?" That question changes everything. Because life will always contain uncertainty. People will change. Situations will change. Your body will change. The world itself will continue changing endlessly. If your emotional stability depends entirely on things remaining permanent, suffering becomes unavoidable. But a peaceful person develops stability inside themselves. This is why some people remain calm even during difficult times, while others emotionally collapse during small problems. The difference is not always external circumstances. Often, the difference is the condition of the inner world. The Buddha taught that the uncontrolled mind creates enormous suffering. A restless mind turns small problems into emotional disasters. A fearful mind constantly imagines danger. A jealous mind destroys gratitude. An attached mind creates endless dissatisfaction. This is why inner work matters so deeply. Many people spend years trying to improve their outer life, while completely ignoring their inner life. They focus on appearance, success, reputation, and productivity, while neglecting the condition of their mind and emotional health. But eventually, every human being must live with themselves internally. And if the mind feels chaotic, external achievements alone cannot fully create peace. This is why meditation and mindfulness are so important in Buddhism. They teach you how to observe your thoughts instead of becoming controlled by them. They teach you how to remain emotionally balanced instead of constantly reacting to every craving, fear, and emotion. Slowly, you begin realizing something powerful. Peace was never hiding somewhere outside you. It was buried underneath mental noise, attachment, fear, comparison, and endless craving. The modern world constantly encourages people to seek happiness externally. Advertisements, social media, and society often send the message that happiness is always one achievement away. People are taught to constantly improve, compete, and chase more. But very few people are taught how to simply sit peacefully with themselves. Very few people are taught how to calm their mind, how to let go, how to accept uncertainty, how to become emotionally grounded, how to feel enough without constant external validation. As a result, millions of people secretly feel empty despite living in a world filled with endless stimulation and opportunities. This is why Buddhism feels so powerful to many people. It reminds human beings that inner peace is possible even in an imperfect world. You do not need to control everything perfectly to experience peace. You do not need to become richer than everyone else. You do not need endless praise from others. You do not need life to become completely problem-free. What you need is a calmer relationship with your own mind. Many people are emotionally addicted to chasing because they fear stillness. If they stop chasing for a moment, they must face what is happening inside themselves. They must face loneliness, insecurity, unresolved pain, fear, and emotional exhaustion. So they keep running. But Buddhism teaches that healing begins when you stop running from yourself. The moment you slow down and honestly observe your own inner world, awareness begins growing. You start noticing how often your mind creates suffering unnecessarily. You notice how comparison steals joy. You notice how craving creates dissatisfaction. You notice how attachment creates fear. You notice how overthinking creates anxiety. You notice how external validation controls your emotions. And gradually, you begin freeing yourself from these patterns. This does not happen overnight. Inner peace is not something instantly achieved. It is something slowly cultivated through awareness and practice. A peaceful mind is built little by little, through learning to let go, through becoming more present, through reducing unnecessary mental noise, through accepting imperfection, through observing thoughts calmly instead of blindly following them. Many people believe peace is a destination they will eventually arrive at someday. But Buddhism teaches that peace is not a future event. Peace is a way of relating to life in the present moment. It is possible to have very little externally and still feel deeply peaceful internally. And it is possible to have everything externally while still feeling emotionally restless. This truth surprises many people, because society often measures success externally while ignoring emotional well-being completely. But at the end of life, inner peace becomes far more important than many external achievements people spend decades chasing. One day your possessions will remain behind. One day your appearance will change. One day your status will no longer matter. One day your achievements will become memories. But the quality of your inner world affects every single moment of your existence while you are alive. This is why Buddhism focuses so deeply on the mind itself, because your mind shapes your experience of reality. A peaceful mind experiences life differently than a fearful mind. A grateful mind experiences life differently than a jealous mind. An aware mind experiences life differently than a distracted mind. The external world may remain imperfect, but inner peace changes how deeply that imperfection controls you emotionally. Many people waste years believing, if I can just fix everything outside me, then I will finally feel peaceful. But the Buddha understood something powerful. No amount of external control can permanently calm an internally chaotic mind. Eventually, you must create peace from within. You must learn how to become emotionally stable, even during uncertainty. You must learn how to stop depending entirely on external approval. You must learn how to sit peacefully with yourself. You must learn how to appreciate the present moment. You must learn how to let go of unnecessary attachment. This is where true emotional freedom begins. The more deeply you understand this, the lighter life becomes. You stop chasing every distraction desperately. You stop measuring your worth through comparison. You stop emotionally collapsing every time life changes. You stop demanding perfection from yourself and the world. And slowly the mind becomes quieter. This is when you begin noticing that peace was never completely absent from your life. It was simply hidden beneath endless mental craving and emotional noise. One of the saddest things in life is spending decades searching everywhere outside yourself for peace, while completely ignoring your inner world. Because eventually, you may achieve many things externally and still realize the mind itself remains restless. That is why Buddhism teaches that inner peace is one of the greatest treasures a human being can cultivate. Not because life becomes perfect, but because the mind finally stops fighting reality every moment of the day. And when the mind becomes peaceful, even ordinary moments begin feeling meaningful again. A quiet morning becomes beautiful. Silence becomes comforting. Simple moments become enough. Your breathing feels calming. Nature feels alive again. The present moment no longer feels empty. This is the power of inner peace, not escaping life, but finally learning how to live it without constantly being at war with your own mind. So stop searching endlessly for peace in places that can never permanently provide it. Stop believing your soul will finally rest only after life becomes perfect. Because peace does not come from controlling the entire world around you. Peace begins the moment you finally stop abandoning yourself internally and start creating calmness within your own mind. And the beautiful truth is this: the peace you have been chasing your entire life may have already been quietly waiting inside you all along. 12. One day you will realize peace was always more important than everything you were chasing. There comes a moment in many people's lives when they suddenly become tired of everything. Tired of overthinking, tired of chasing, tired of proving themselves, tired of constantly carrying pressure inside their mind. They may still continue living normally on the outside, but deep inside something changes. The things they once believed were most important slowly begin losing their power over them. The endless competition no longer feels meaningful. The constant need for approval becomes exhausting. The pressure to impress everyone becomes heavy. The obsession with status, comparison and control starts feeling empty. And for the first time, they begin craving something much deeper than success or attention. They begin craving peace. In Buddhism, this realization is very important because many people spend most of their life searching for happiness in places that can never fully satisfy the soul. They chase temporary things expecting permanent fulfillment. They believe that once they achieve enough externally, the emptiness inside them will finally disappear. But eventually, life teaches a painful truth. No amount of external success can permanently calm an internally restless mind. This realization often arrives slowly, sometimes through heartbreak, sometimes through emotional exhaustion, sometimes through failure, loneliness, anxiety, or deep disappointment. Life eventually shows people that many of the things they once stressed over so deeply were never truly worth sacrificing their inner peace for. A person may spend years chasing money while losing their health. They may spend years chasing approval while losing their identity. They may spend years chasing relationships while abandoning themselves emotionally. They may spend years trying to control everything while mentally destroying themselves from stress. And one day, they suddenly ask themselves, what was all of this really for? The Buddha understood something many people only realize later in life. Without inner peace, even beautiful achievements can feel empty. A person can own expensive things and still feel anxious every night. A person can receive endless praise and still secretly hate themselves. A person can become successful while emotionally exhausted inside. This is because external comfort and inner peace are not always the same thing. The modern world constantly teaches people to chase more money, more productivity, more attention, more achievements, more validation, more stimulation. But very few people are taught how to protect their own mind from emotional exhaustion. As a result, millions of people silently suffer inside while appearing normal outside. They smile publicly while privately struggling with anxiety. They continue functioning while emotionally burned out. They keep moving forward while mentally feeling lost. And the saddest part is that many people become so used to inner chaos that they forget what genuine peace even feels like anymore. In Buddhism, peace is not just relaxation. Peace is emotional freedom from unnecessary suffering. It is the ability to experience life without constantly being controlled by fear, attachment, anger, overthinking, comparison, and endless mental noise. A peaceful mind does not mean a perfect life. It means a calmer relationship with life itself. This is why the Buddha focused so deeply on awareness of the mind, because most suffering is not created only by external events. Much suffering is created by how the mind reacts to those events. Two people can experience similar situations while feeling completely different emotionally. One becomes consumed by fear and bitterness, while another remains emotionally balanced and accepting. The difference is often internal awareness. Many people live their entire life unconsciously. They follow every thought automatically. They react emotionally without observing themselves. They become controlled by cravings, fears, anger, jealousy, and insecurity without realizing it. But awareness changes everything. The moment you begin observing your mind honestly, you start seeing how much suffering is being created internally. You notice how often the mind exaggerates problems. You notice how often overthinking creates anxiety. You notice how attachment creates fear. You notice how comparison destroys gratitude. You notice how desperately chasing validation weakens your peace. And slowly, you begin understanding that inner peace matters more than many things you once chased desperately. This realization becomes stronger with time. Many older people eventually discover that the moments they remember most are not always the moments of achievement. Often, the most meaningful memories are simple, peaceful moments they once overlooked. Quiet conversations, time with loved ones, peaceful mornings, nature, laughter, silence, moments where the heart simply felt calm, not endless stress, not endless competition, not constant mental pressure. This is why Buddhism teaches mindfulness so deeply, because life moves incredibly fast. People believe they have endless time, but years disappear quietly. Childhood disappears, youth disappears. Entire seasons of life vanish before many people fully appreciate them. One day, you suddenly realize people around you have grown older. Familiar moments have passed. Some doors will never open again. And in that moment, many people begin understanding how much unnecessary suffering they carried for things that ultimately did not matter very much. The arguments, the comparisons, the pressure, the need to impress everyone, the endless worrying. So much of it stole peace without truly improving life. The Buddha taught that attachment creates suffering because people cling desperately to things that are temporary by nature. They want situations to remain unchanged forever. They want certainty in an uncertain world. They want control over things that constantly change. But life itself is impermanent. Everything changes. People change. Emotions change. Bodies change. Circumstances change. And when the mind constantly fights this reality, suffering grows stronger. A peaceful person eventually accepts something powerful. Nothing external can remain perfectly stable forever. This understanding does not create hopelessness. It creates freedom. Because when you stop demanding permanence from temporary things, the mind relaxes. You stop panicking every time life changes. You stop clinging desperately to every experience. You begin appreciating moments while they exist, instead of trying to possess them forever. Many people also destroy themselves mentally by constantly trying to become enough in the eyes of others. They shape their life around approval and validation. They fear judgment deeply. They compare themselves endlessly. But no matter what you do, some people will misunderstand you. Some people will judge you. Some people will dislike you. The Buddha understood that seeking endless validation from the world creates emotional instability because people's opinions constantly change. A peaceful person eventually learns, "My worth cannot depend entirely on how the world sees me." This creates emotional independence. The mind becomes lighter when it no longer constantly begs for approval. Another painful truth many people realize later in life is how much time they spent mentally absent from the present moment. Even during beautiful experiences, their mind was trapped in worry, planning, pressure, and fear. They were physically present but emotionally somewhere else. This is one of the reasons inner peace matters so deeply. Peace reconnects you to the present moment itself. It allows you to actually experience life instead of constantly mentally escaping from it. In Buddhism, awareness of the present moment is considered sacred because the present is the only place life truly exists. The past already disappeared. The future has not arrived yet. But many people spend most of their existence mentally trapped between regret about the past and fear about the future. As a result, they miss life while it is happening directly in front of them. Inner peace changes this. When the mind becomes calmer, ordinary moments become meaningful again. A simple walk feels peaceful. A quiet morning feels healing. A deep breath feels comforting. Silence no longer feels empty. The heart becomes more grateful because it is no longer constantly distracted by endless mental noise. This is why people who develop inner peace often begin valuing simpler things more deeply. Not because they gave up on life, but because they finally understand what truly matters emotionally. The modern world often glorifies stress and busyness. People are praised for constantly working, constantly producing, constantly achieving. Rest is often seen as laziness. Stillness feels unfamiliar. But the soul cannot survive endless pressure forever. Eventually, emotional exhaustion appears. This is why so many people secretly feel burned out internally. Their mind never fully rests. Even during moments of quiet overthinking continues. Anxiety continues. Comparison continues. The Buddha taught that the uncontrolled mind creates suffering continuously. This is why calming the mind is one of the greatest forms of self-care. Not selfishness, not weakness, but emotional survival. Many people wait too long before protecting their peace. They keep tolerating toxic environments, unhealthy relationships, endless pressure, and emotional chaos until they become completely drained. Then one day, something inside them breaks. They no longer want constant drama. They no longer want endless stress. They no longer want to mentally fight every moment of life. They simply want peace. This moment of awakening can become deeply transformative. Because once a person truly understands the value of inner peace, many things lose their power over them. The need to constantly impress people weakens. The obsession with comparison weakens. The attachment to endless approval weakens. The desire to chase every distraction weakens. And slowly, the mind begins returning to itself again. This does not mean life suddenly becomes perfect. There will still be pain sometimes. There will still be uncertainty. There will still be difficult moments. But inner peace changes how deeply those things control your emotional state. Instead of mentally collapsing during every storm, you become more grounded internally. Instead of reacting impulsively to every emotion, you become more aware. Instead of constantly fighting reality, you begin accepting life more calmly. That is real emotional strength in Buddhism. Not pretending pain does not exist, but developing a peaceful mind that is no longer destroyed by every challenge life brings. One of the saddest things in life is realizing too late that peace was always more valuable than many of the things you sacrificed yourself for. Some people spend decades chasing status while neglecting their health. Some chase money while losing their relationships. Some chase validation while abandoning their own identity. Some chase perfection while quietly destroying their mental well-being. And eventually they realize none of it felt as valuable as genuine inner peace. Because peace changes everything. It changes how life feels. It changes how the body feels. It changes how the heart experiences ordinary moments. Without peace, even beautiful experiences feel incomplete. With peace, even simple moments feel meaningful. This is why Buddhism teaches that protecting your inner world may be one of the most important things you ever do. Because your mind becomes the place you live every single day. If your mind feels chaotic, life itself feels heavy. If your mind feels peaceful, life becomes lighter even during imperfect moments. One day, your life will end. Your achievements will remain behind. Your possessions will remain behind. Your image will disappear. But while you are alive, the quality of your inner world shapes every moment of your existence. So do not spend your precious years constantly mentally exhausted. Do not wait until old age to finally understand the importance of peace. Do not sacrifice your soul for things that cannot truly fulfill it. Slow down sometimes, protect your energy, let go of unnecessary suffering. Be present for your own life. Learn how to sit peacefully with yourself. Because one day you will realize that inner peace was never a small thing. It was one of the most valuable treasures you could ever experience while being alive. 13. The mind becomes dangerous when it never learns how to rest. One of the most overlooked forms of suffering in modern life is mental exhaustion. Many people look physically healthy on the outside, but inside their mind there is constant noise, pressure, fear, and emotional chaos. They wake up already tired. They overthink throughout the day. They carry invisible stress inside their chest. And even when they finally lie down at night, their mind still refuses to become quiet. In Buddhism, the condition of the mind is deeply important because the mind shapes the way human beings experience life itself. A peaceful mind experiences life differently than an exhausted mind. A calm mind notices beauty, gratitude, and presence. But a restless mind turns even ordinary life into emotional suffering. This is why the Buddha placed so much importance on awareness, stillness, and mindfulness. He understood that an uncontrolled mind can slowly become one of the greatest sources of suffering in a person's life. Many people do not realize how mentally overwhelmed they truly are, because constant stress has become normal in the modern world. They believe it is normal to constantly worry, normal to constantly compare themselves, normal to always feel pressure, normal to mentally replay painful situations every day. But the human mind was never designed to carry endless emotional noise every moment of life. Look carefully at how many people live now. From the moment they wake up, their mind immediately becomes overloaded. Notifications, social media, news, work pressure, expectations, arguments, endless information. The mind barely gets a moment to breathe peacefully. Even during rest, people continue stimulating themselves constantly. They scroll endlessly because silence feels uncomfortable. They distract themselves because being alone with their thoughts feels overwhelming. As a result, the mind never fully rests. And when the mind never rests, emotional suffering slowly increases. In Buddhism, suffering is not always caused by life itself. Often, suffering is intensified by the way the mind reacts to life. A restless mind exaggerates problems. A fearful mind creates imaginary disasters. A tired mind loses clarity and emotional balance. This is why mental exhaustion becomes so dangerous. When the mind is exhausted, even small problems begin feeling heavy. A simple disagreement ruins the entire day. A small mistake creates deep self-hatred. One negative thought spirals into hours of anxiety and overthinking. The emotionally exhausted mind becomes fragile because it has been carrying too much pressure for too long. Many people are not physically tired. They are mentally overwhelmed. They are exhausted from constantly thinking, constantly worrying, constantly fearing, constantly comparing, constantly mentally fighting themselves. This invisible suffering slowly steals peace from everyday life. The Buddha taught that awareness of the mind is essential because most people live unconsciously. They react automatically to every thought and emotion without observing what is happening internally. If anger appears, they immediately become consumed by it. If fear appears, they immediately believe it. If insecurity appears, they allow it to define them. But Buddhism teaches that thoughts and emotions are temporary experiences, not permanent truths. This understanding changes everything. A peaceful person is not someone who never experiences fear, sadness, or anger. A peaceful person is someone who no longer becomes completely controlled by every emotional storm that appears in the mind. This is where mindfulness becomes powerful. Mindfulness teaches you how to pause, how to observe, how to become aware instead of reacting automatically. The moment you begin observing your mind calmly, you start noticing patterns that were previously controlling you unconsciously. You notice how often fear exaggerates situations. You notice how overthinking creates unnecessary suffering. You notice how attachment creates emotional instability. You notice how constantly replaying painful memories keeps wounds alive. And slowly, awareness weakens the power these patterns once had over your life. Many people spend years mentally attacking themselves without even realizing it. They constantly criticize themselves internally. I am not good enough. I am behind in life. I always fail. I will never become happy. The mind repeats these thoughts again and again until emotional exhaustion becomes permanent. In Buddhism, compassion toward yourself is extremely important because inner peace cannot grow inside constant self-hatred. Many people are kinder to strangers than they are to themselves. They forgive others easily but mentally punish themselves endlessly. They expect perfection from themselves while forgetting they are human beings experiencing life for the first time. This creates deep emotional suffering. The Buddha taught balance and awareness, not emotional violence toward yourself. A peaceful mind understands that mistakes are part of life. Pain is part of life. Uncertainty is part of life. But constantly mentally torturing yourself only creates more suffering on top of the pain already present. The modern world also encourages endless mental stimulation. People rarely allow their mind to simply exist quietly anymore. Every moment must be filled with entertainment, noise, distraction, or productivity. But the nervous system cannot remain overstimulated forever without consequences. Eventually, anxiety increases, patience decreases, emotional burnout appears, peace disappears. This is why so many people secretly feel emotionally numb or mentally drained even when life externally seems fine. Their mind has simply been overloaded for too long. In Buddhism, silence is deeply healing because silence gives the mind a chance to settle again. But many people fear silence because silence reveals what distraction has been hiding. When everything becomes quiet, unresolved emotions rise to the surface. Loneliness appears, fear appears. Inner emptiness becomes visible. So people keep running toward more distractions. But distractions cannot permanently heal inner exhaustion. Only awareness and rest can. Imagine constantly running every second of the day without ever stopping to breathe. Eventually, the body would collapse from exhaustion. The mind works the same way. If your mind constantly runs without rest, emotional exhaustion becomes inevitable. This is why slowing down matters so deeply. Not laziness, not weakness, but healing. A peaceful mind requires moments of stillness, moments where you are not trying to impress anyone, not chasing anything, not comparing yourself, not mentally fighting life, just breathing, just existing, just being present. Many people have forgotten how healing simple presence can be. The Buddha understood that human beings often search for happiness in complex places, while ignoring simple peace available in ordinary moments. A quiet morning, the sound of nature, silence, stillness, mindful walking, watching the sky. These moments seem small, but they reconnect the mind to peace again. The problem is not that peace disappeared completely. The problem is that the exhausted mind no longer notices it. Many people are addicted to overthinking because they believe thinking endlessly gives them control. But constant mental activity often creates more confusion instead of clarity. A tired mind struggles to see reality clearly. This is why emotionally exhausted people often become trapped in negative thinking patterns. The mind becomes clouded from carrying too much fear, pressure, and emotional noise. In Buddhism, clarity appears when the mind becomes quieter, not through forcing, not through panic, but through awareness and stillness. This is why meditation is such a powerful practice. Meditation teaches the mind how to rest without constantly chasing thoughts. It teaches emotional balance. It teaches patience. It teaches observation instead of automatic reaction. At first, meditation feels difficult for many people because the mind is used to endless stimulation. Sitting quietly may feel uncomfortable. Thoughts may become louder temporarily, but slowly something changes. The mind becomes calmer. Thoughts lose intensity. Emotions become less overwhelming. The nervous system relaxes. And for the first time in a long time, inner peace becomes possible again. The Buddha taught that a disciplined mind creates freedom, while an uncontrolled mind creates suffering. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending pain does not exist. It means developing awareness strong enough that emotions no longer completely control your life. Many people are constantly emotionally reacting to everything around them. Every opinion affects them. Every criticism hurts deeply. Every problem becomes overwhelming. This happens because the mind never learned stability. But a peaceful mind becomes more grounded internally. It learns how to pause before reacting, how to breathe during difficulty, how to let thoughts pass without immediately believing them. This creates emotional strength. Real strength in Buddhism is not aggression or domination. Real strength is the ability to remain internally calm while life around you becomes chaotic. This kind of peace is rare because most people never train their mind. They train their body, their career, their image, and their skills, but completely neglect the condition of their inner world. Yet the inner world shapes every moment of human experience. If your mind feels like a battlefield, life itself feels exhausting. If your mind becomes peaceful, life becomes lighter even during difficulties. This is why protecting your mental energy matters so deeply. Not every argument deserves your attention. Not every negative thought deserves your belief. Not every person deserves access to your peace. Many people emotionally drain themselves trying to carry everything and everyone at once. They absorb other people's negativity constantly. They involve themselves in unnecessary drama. They mentally replay situations that no longer matter. Slowly, their emotional energy disappears. A peaceful person learns healthy boundaries. They understand that protecting their mind is not selfish, it is necessary. Because once the mind becomes severely exhausted, everything in life starts feeling heavier. Simple tasks feel overwhelming, motivation disappears, joy weakens, patience becomes difficult. This is why rest is sacred in Buddhism. Not only physical rest, emotional rest, spiritual rest. The mind needs moments free from fear, pressure, comparison, and noise. Without rest, the mind slowly loses itself. Many people reach a point where they no longer even recognize who they used to be emotionally. Life hardened them. Stress changed them. Emotional exhaustion stole their peace. But Buddhism teaches something hopeful. The mind can heal. No matter how restless, anxious, or exhausted the mind has become, awareness can slowly restore balance again. But healing requires honesty. You must honestly admit when your mind is overwhelmed. Honestly admit when you are emotionally exhausted. Honestly admit when constant overthinking is destroying your peace. Many people continue pretending they are fine, while their inner world quietly collapses. But awareness is the first step toward healing. The Buddha taught that peace begins the moment you stop unconsciously feeding suffering every day. You stop feeding fear constantly. You stop feeding comparison constantly. You stop feeding endless attachment constantly. You stop feeding overthinking constantly. And slowly, the mind becomes lighter. This process takes time. The mind will not become peaceful overnight. But every moment of awareness matters. Every time you pause instead of reacting impulsively. Every time you choose calmness instead of panic. Every time you rest your mind instead of endlessly overstimulating it. You begin rebuilding peace within yourself again. One day, many people suddenly realize they spent years mentally exhausted without ever truly resting emotionally. They survived life, but they rarely felt deeply peaceful inside. Do not let that become your story. Do not spend your entire existence trapped inside endless mental noise. Your mind deserves rest too. Your soul deserves peace too. Slow down sometimes. Breathe deeply sometimes. Step away from unnecessary chaos sometimes. Allow silence into your life sometimes. Because a peaceful mind is not a small thing. It changes the entire experience of being alive. And the moment your mind finally learns how to rest again, life itself begins feeling lighter, calmer, and more beautiful than it has in a very long time. 14. Stop living as if you have unlimited time. One of the biggest illusions human beings live under is the belief that there will always be more time. More time to rest, more time to heal, more time to enjoy life, more time to appreciate people, more time to finally become peaceful. Because of this illusion, many people keep postponing their happiness and inner peace, while constantly chasing survival, success, approval, and endless responsibilities. But in Buddhism, awareness of time and impermanence is deeply important because life moves far faster than most people realize. Every moment that passes never returns again. Every year disappears quietly. Every season of life eventually ends. Yet most people live distracted, mentally exhausted, and emotionally disconnected from the present moment, while life slowly slips through their hands. When people are young, they often believe life is endless. They think they have plenty of time to fix themselves later, plenty of time to reconnect with loved ones later, plenty of time to slow down later. But later is one of the most dangerous illusions the mind creates. Many people postpone peace for their entire life. I will finally rest after I become successful. I will finally enjoy life once I make enough money. I will finally relax after my problems disappear. I will finally become happy later. But life never becomes perfectly problem-free. There will always be responsibilities. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be challenges waiting somewhere ahead. And because of this, many people spend decades mentally stressed, while peace remains permanently delayed into the future. The Buddha taught that attachment to endless desire creates suffering, because the mind constantly wants something more before it allows itself to feel content. Human beings often live as if happiness exists somewhere far away, instead of understanding that peace can only be experienced in the present moment. This is why so many people reach older age feeling emotionally empty, despite spending their entire life chasing external achievements. They survived, they worked, they struggled, they worried endlessly, but they never truly allowed themselves to live peacefully. This realization can become deeply painful. Many people do not notice how quickly life is disappearing while they are trapped inside overthinking and distraction. They are constantly mentally occupied with fear, comparison, pressure, and endless thoughts about the future. Meanwhile, real life keeps moving silently around them. Parents grow older, children grow up, friendships change, bodies age, moments disappear forever. And often people only realize the value of those moments after they are already gone. In Buddhism, mindfulness exists partly to protect human beings from this unconscious way of living. Mindfulness teaches awareness of the present moment, because the present moment is the only place life actually exists. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, only now. But most people are mentally somewhere else almost all the time. When they are eating, they are worrying. When they are walking, they are distracted. When they are with loved ones, their mind is elsewhere. When peaceful moments happen, they barely notice them. As a result, life passes quickly without being deeply experienced. This is one of the saddest forms of suffering, being physically alive while mentally absent from your own existence. The Buddha understood that human beings waste enormous amounts of life mentally fighting things that are temporary by nature. They worry endlessly about situations that eventually pass. They obsess over opinions that ultimately do not matter. They carry resentment for years. They replay painful memories repeatedly. And during all this mental suffering, life itself continues disappearing quietly. One day people suddenly realize, the years are gone, the opportunities are gone, certain people are gone, certain moments will never return again. And many begin asking themselves, why did I spend so much of my life mentally exhausted? The truth is, many of the things people stress over every single day will not matter very much in the end. The arguments, the comparisons, the endless need for approval, the pressure to impress everyone, the obsession with perfection. Most of it steals peace without adding real meaning to life. In Buddhism, awareness of death is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create clarity. The Buddha taught that remembering the temporary nature of life helps people stop wasting their existence on unnecessary suffering. Because when you truly understand that your time here is limited, your priorities begin changing. You stop wanting endless drama. You stop wanting constant conflict. You stop chasing meaningless validation as desperately. Instead, you begin valuing things like peace, presence, connection, gratitude, and emotional freedom much more deeply. Many people believe they will always have more time to say important things, more time to heal relationships, more time to appreciate life, more time to rest emotionally, more time to finally slow down. But life does not promise endless time to anyone. Some people leave suddenly. Some opportunities disappear permanently. Some moments only happen once. This is why mindfulness matters so much. When you become fully present, ordinary moments begin feeling sacred again. A quiet conversation becomes meaningful. A peaceful morning becomes beautiful. Sharing time with loved ones becomes valuable. Simple silence becomes healing. The distracted mind misses these things constantly because it is too busy chasing tomorrow while ignoring today. The modern world also trains people to constantly rush through life. Everyone feels pressure to move faster, achieve more, produce more, and stay constantly busy. Rest feels guilty. Stillness feels unfamiliar. But constantly rushing creates emotional blindness. When life moves too fast internally, the mind stops truly experiencing anything deeply. This is why many people secretly feel numb despite constantly being busy. They are moving through life mechanically, without emotionally connecting to it anymore. The Buddha taught that inner peace requires awareness, because awareness slows the mind down enough to fully experience reality again. Without awareness, people become trapped in automatic living. Wake up, stress, work, overthink. Distract yourself. Sleep. Repeat. Years disappear inside this cycle before many people even realize what happened. This is why Buddhism encourages conscious living instead of unconscious survival. A conscious person notices life more deeply. They notice the sky, they notice silence, they notice breathing, they notice emotions, they notice gratitude. They notice how precious ordinary moments actually are. This awareness transforms life itself. Many people think peace comes only from extraordinary experiences, but often, the deepest peace comes from fully experiencing simple moments without mental resistance. The warmth of sunlight, a calm breath, rain sounds, nature, stillness, silence, presence. These things are always available, but distracted minds rarely notice them. The Buddha understood something very powerful. The quality of your attention shapes the quality of your life. If your attention constantly lives inside fear, stress, comparison, and overthinking, life feels emotionally heavy. But when awareness returns to the present moment, life begins feeling lighter again. This does not mean problems disappear completely. Life will still contain pain sometimes. There will still be uncertainty and difficulty. But inner peace changes how deeply those things control your emotional state. A peaceful person still experiences challenges, but they stop mentally destroying themselves on top of those challenges. This is emotional wisdom. Many people waste years mentally fighting reality itself. They resist change constantly. They resist uncertainty. They resist imperfection. They demand life become exactly the way they want before allowing themselves to feel calm. But life has never promised perfect control. Everything changes eventually. This understanding can feel uncomfortable at first, but it also creates freedom. Because once you stop expecting life to remain perfectly stable forever, the mind relaxes. You stop clinging so tightly to everything. You stop panicking over every change. You stop mentally collapsing every time life shifts unexpectedly. And slowly, peace becomes possible again. One of the saddest things in life is reaching old age while realizing you spent most of your years emotionally distracted instead of fully alive. Many people regret not slowing down sooner, not appreciating loved ones enough, not protecting their peace sooner, not enjoying simple moments more deeply. Very few people regret not worrying more. This is important to understand. At the end of life, endless overthinking rarely feels meaningful. What matters more is whether you truly lived consciously, whether you appreciated life while you had it, whether you allowed yourself moments of peace instead of endless emotional chaos. The Buddha taught that clinging desperately to temporary things creates suffering because everything eventually changes. But this truth is not meant to make life depressing. It is meant to make life precious. Because moments matter more when you realize they will not last forever. This conversation, this season of life, this version of yourself, this breath, everything is temporary. And strangely, accepting this reality makes life more beautiful instead of less beautiful. You stop taking ordinary moments for granted. You stop delaying happiness endlessly. You stop wasting years emotionally trapped inside unnecessary suffering. Instead, you begin living more consciously. You begin valuing peace more deeply. You begin protecting your energy more carefully. You begin appreciating simple moments more fully. This is wisdom. The truth is, many people are waiting for life to slow down before they allow themselves to become peaceful. But life may never fully slow down externally. So, at some point, you must choose peace intentionally. You must decide, I do not want to spend my entire existence mentally exhausted. This decision changes everything. You begin becoming more aware of what drains your soul. You stop giving energy to meaningless things. You stop mentally carrying problems that do not belong to you. You stop sacrificing your emotional health for endless external pressure. And slowly, life begins feeling lighter, not because the world became perfect, but because your relationship with life became calmer. The Buddha understood that life itself is short and fragile. This is why Buddhism encourages people to wake up emotionally before it is too late. Because one day your body will grow weak. One day your time here will end. One day all your worries, possessions, and achievements will disappear. And when that moment arrives, what will matter most is not how much stress you carried. What will matter is whether you truly experienced peace while you were alive. Did you appreciate life? Did you love deeply? Did you protect your inner world? Did you slow down enough to truly notice the beauty of being alive? Or were you too mentally distracted to experience your own existence fully? These questions matter deeply, because life is not endless, time is not unlimited. And one of the greatest tragedies is spending your precious existence constantly mentally exhausted, while postponing peace for some day that may never fully arrive. So slow down sometimes, put the phone away sometimes, Sit quietly sometimes, breathe consciously sometimes. Look at the sky sometimes, rest your mind sometimes, because this moment of life will never come again. And the more present you become, the more you realize that inner peace was never something to postpone. It was something your soul needed all along. 15. Inner peace begins. When you finally stop fighting yourself, one of the deepest forms of suffering is not always caused by the outside world. Sometimes the greatest battle is happening silently inside a person's own mind. Many people spend years fighting themselves without even realizing it. They constantly criticize themselves, compare themselves, blame themselves, doubt themselves, and mentally punish themselves every single day. Even when nobody around them is attacking them, their own mind continues creating suffering from within. In Buddhism, inner peace becomes impossible when the mind is constantly at war with itself. A person may appear calm on the outside, while secretly carrying enormous emotional pain internally. They smile around people while privately feeling exhausted, insecure, and emotionally drained. Over time, this inner conflict slowly steals joy from life itself. Many people have become so used to mentally attacking themselves that they no longer notice how harmful it has become. They call themselves failures after mistakes. They compare themselves endlessly to others. They replay embarrassing moments repeatedly. They hate parts of themselves constantly. They feel guilty for resting. They feel unworthy of peace or happiness. And slowly the mind becomes emotionally heavy. The Buddha taught that suffering grows stronger when the mind becomes trapped in attachment, fear, judgment, and self-hatred. Many people believe being hard on themselves will somehow make them stronger or more successful. But constant inner criticism usually creates emotional exhaustion instead of peace. Think about how painful it would feel if another person spoke to you every day the same way your own mind sometimes does. You are not enough. You are behind in life. You always fail. You will never change. You are weak. You are not worthy. Most people would never tolerate hearing these words from others constantly. Yet they silently repeat these thoughts to themselves every single day. This is why many people feel emotionally tired, even when nothing terrible is happening externally. Their own mind has become a source of pressure and suffering. In Buddhism, compassion is not only meant for other people. Compassion must also be directed toward yourself. This does not mean avoiding responsibility or pretending mistakes do not matter. It means learning how to treat yourself with patience and understanding instead of constant emotional violence. Human beings are imperfect by nature. You will make mistakes. You will fail sometimes. You will feel lost sometimes. You will struggle emotionally sometimes. This is part of being alive. But many people turn ordinary human imperfection into endless self-punishment. Instead of learning from pain, they become trapped inside shame and self-hatred. The Buddha understood that the mind creates suffering when it constantly clings to identity and judgment. Many people become emotionally attached to negative beliefs about themselves because those beliefs have been repeated for so long. A person who failed a few times begins believing, "I am a failure." A person who experienced rejection begins believing, "I am unlovable." A person who struggled emotionally begins believing, "There is something wrong with me." Slowly, temporary experiences become permanent identities inside the mind. This is dangerous because the mind starts seeing life through those beliefs. Everything becomes filtered through insecurity and fear. But Buddhism teaches awareness. Awareness allows you to observe thoughts instead of blindly becoming them. A thought saying, "I am worthless," is still only a thought. A thought saying, "I will never heal," is still only a thought. The mind produces thousands of thoughts constantly, but not every thought represents truth. This realization creates emotional freedom. Many people unconsciously believe every negative thought their mind creates. But the Buddha taught that thoughts are temporary mental events, not permanent reality. This is why mindfulness becomes so powerful. The moment you pause and observe your inner world calmly, you begin noticing how often your mind attacks itself unnecessarily. You notice how often you compare yourself, how often you fear judgment, how often you mentally replay mistakes, how often you criticize yourself for being imperfect. And slowly, awareness creates distance between you and these patterns. Instead of automatically believing every harsh thought, you begin questioning it. Is this actually true? Would I speak to someone I love this way? Why am I constantly punishing myself emotionally? These questions begin changing the relationship you have with yourself. Many people spend their entire life seeking peace externally while completely neglecting their inner relationship with themselves. But if your own mind constantly feels unsafe, peaceful experiences outside will never fully satisfy you for long. You carry your mind everywhere. This is why inner peace begins internally. The Buddha taught that attachment to perfection creates suffering because human beings constantly demand impossible standards from themselves. People expect themselves to always be confident, always successful, always emotionally strong, always productive, always attractive, always ahead. And when reality does not match these unrealistic expectations, the mind becomes disappointed and harsh. But perfection does not exist in human life. Everything in nature contains imperfection. The weather changes, the body changes, emotions, life changes. Yet many people demand permanent perfection from themselves while living inside an imperfect world. This creates enormous emotional pressure. A peaceful mind understands that growth matters more than perfection. Healing is not linear. Progress is not always fast. Some days will feel harder than others. This does not mean you are failing. It means you are human. Many people emotionally abandon themselves during difficult seasons. When they struggle mentally, they respond with more self-hatred instead of compassion. They become impatient with their own healing process. But Buddhism teaches patience and gentleness. A wound does not heal faster because you scream at it. The mind does not become peaceful through self-hatred. Healing requires awareness, patience, and care. Many people also compare their life journey constantly. They look at others and feel behind. Social media has made this even worse because people constantly see carefully edited versions of other people's lives. As a result, millions secretly feel inadequate. They think, everyone else is happier, everyone else is more successful, everyone else has life figured out except me. But this comparison creates enormous suffering because every person carries invisible struggles the world cannot fully see. The Buddha taught that attachment to comparison destroys gratitude and peace. A flower does not become worthless because another flower blooms differently. In the same way, your journey does not lose value because someone else's path looks different. Many people are fighting battles privately that nobody else understands. Some people appear successful externally while secretly struggling emotionally every day. This is why comparing your inner struggles to someone else's outer appearance creates distortion. Inner peace grows when you stop measuring your worth against the world constantly. Another reason people fight themselves internally is because they carry unresolved guilt and regret from the past. They replay old mistakes repeatedly and mentally punish themselves for things they cannot change anymore. But Buddhism teaches impermanence. The past already disappeared. The person you were years ago no longer fully exists. Yet many people continue emotionally imprisoning themselves inside old versions of who they used to be. A peaceful mind learns from the past without permanently living inside it. This does not mean denying mistakes. It means allowing yourself to grow beyond them. Many people secretly believe they must become perfect before they deserve peace. But inner peace is not a reward for perfection. It is something you begin creating the moment you stop emotionally attacking yourself every day. This changes the entire direction of healing. Instead of constantly asking, "What is wrong with me?" you begin asking, "How can I care for my mind more gently?" This creates emotional softness instead of constant inner conflict. The Buddha understood that the mind becomes peaceful when attachment, fear, and self-judgment become weaker. But this requires awareness because most people unconsciously feed self-hatred every single day through thoughts, comparison, guilt, and unrealistic expectations. The modern world often encourages people to tie their worth to productivity and achievement. If they are not constantly accomplishing something, they feel guilty or unworthy. But human value is not measured only through productivity. You do not need to earn your right to exist peacefully. Rest matters, stillness matters, healing matters. The soul cannot survive endless pressure forever. Many people have become emotionally disconnected from themselves because they only focus on external performance while ignoring their inner world completely. But eventually, the inner world demands attention. This is why emotional burnout has become so common. People keep pushing themselves while ignoring what their mind and heart actually need. The Buddha taught balance, not endless indulgence, not endless pressure, balance. A peaceful person learns how to care for themselves internally instead of constantly mentally abandoning themselves. This includes protecting your energy from toxic environments, allowing yourself to rest without guilt, accepting imperfection, letting go of unnecessary comparison, being patient with your healing process. These things seem simple, but they deeply transform the mind over time. Many people are searching desperately for peace while continuing to emotionally fight themselves every day. But peace cannot grow where constant self-hatred exists. Inner peace begins the moment your mind finally becomes a safer place to live inside. This does not happen overnight. Years of self-judgment and emotional pain take time to heal. But every moment of awareness matters. Every time you stop reacting harshly to yourself. Every time you forgive yourself gently. Every time you choose patience instead of self-hatred. You begin rebuilding peace within your mind again. The Buddha taught that compassion frees the heart from suffering. And one of the most important forms of compassion is learning how to stop treating yourself like an enemy. You are not meant to spend your entire life emotionally fighting yourself. You are not meant to wake up every day mentally exhausted from endless self-criticism. Life is already difficult enough without your own mind becoming another source of suffering. Many people spend years searching for love, acceptance, and peace from others, while refusing to offer those things to themselves internally. But eventually, healing requires turning inward. It requires sitting honestly with yourself, understanding your pain, accepting your humanity, and slowly learning how to create peace within your own heart again. This is one of the deepest forms of freedom in Buddhism. Not becoming perfect, not controlling everything, but finally becoming gentle enough with yourself that your own mind no longer feels like a battlefield. Because one day you may realize that the greatest thing you ever needed was not endless success, validation, or perfection. What you truly needed was peace within yourself. And that peace begins the moment you finally stop fighting your own soul every single day. 16. The life you want begins the moment your mind finally becomes peaceful. Many people spend years trying to change their outer life without realizing that their inner world is shaping almost everything they experience. They focus on changing jobs, changing relationships, changing environments, changing routines, and changing appearances, but they never truly learn how to calm their own mind. As a result, even when life improves externally, they still carry the same emotional heaviness inside themselves. In Buddhism, the mind is considered one of the most powerful forces in human life because the condition of the mind affects how every experience feels. A peaceful mind experiences life differently than a fearful mind. A grateful mind experiences life differently than a jealous mind. A calm mind sees opportunities where an anxious mind only sees danger. This is why inner peace changes everything. Many people believe peace is just a small emotional feeling, but in reality, peace changes the entire quality of your life. When the mind becomes peaceful, your relationships become healthier, your decisions become clearer, your emotions become more stable, and even ordinary moments begin feeling more meaningful. But when the mind is constantly restless, life feels heavy no matter what is happening externally. This is why some people continue suffering, even after getting the things they once wanted. They thought success would automatically remove anxiety. They thought relationships would automatically heal loneliness. They thought money would automatically create emotional stability. But external things cannot permanently heal an internally chaotic mind. The Buddha understood this deeply. He taught that the mind itself creates much of human suffering. Fear, attachment, comparison, craving, anger, resentment, and endless overthinking slowly poison inner peace from within. And because most people never learn how to observe their own mind consciously, these emotional patterns quietly control their entire life. Many people are not even aware of how negative their inner world has become. They wake up already stressed. They expect problems before the day even begins. They overthink constantly. They mentally criticize themselves endlessly. They compare themselves to others automatically. They carry fear about the future everywhere they go. Over time, this becomes their normal emotional state. But the mind adapts to whatever patterns it repeatedly practices. If you constantly practice fear, the mind becomes more fearful. If you constantly practice anger, the mind becomes more reactive. If you constantly practice comparison, the mind becomes more dissatisfied. But the opposite is also true. If you practice awareness, the mind becomes calmer. If you practice gratitude, the mind becomes softer. If you practice presence, the mind becomes more peaceful. This is why Buddhism places so much importance on daily awareness. Inner peace is not created accidentally. It is slowly cultivated through how you train your attention and relationship with your thoughts. Many people want peace while continuing habits that destroy peace every single day. They consume endless negativity, stay trapped in toxic environments, feed overthinking constantly, mentally replay painful memories repeatedly, seek validation endlessly, compare themselves obsessively. Then they wonder why their soul feels exhausted. The Buddha taught that suffering has causes. And when you begin understanding the causes of your suffering, healing becomes possible. This awareness changes your life, because instead of blaming the entire world constantly, you begin asking, what patterns inside my own mind are creating suffering? This question creates transformation. Many people are emotionally addicted to chaos without realizing it. Their mind has become so used to stress and emotional noise that peace almost feels unfamiliar. Silence feels uncomfortable. Calmness feels strange. They constantly need distraction because being alone with themselves feels difficult. This happens because the mind has been overstimulated for too long. The modern world constantly trains people to chase stimulation every second of the day. Notifications, social media, entertainment, arguments, comparison, and endless information overload the nervous system continuously. As a result, many people no longer know how to simply exist peacefully. But Buddhism teaches something powerful. Peace is your natural state underneath the mental noise. The problem is not that peace disappeared completely. The problem is that the mind became too crowded to notice it. Imagine a lake during a violent storm. The water becomes chaotic and unclear. But when the storm settles, the water naturally becomes calm again. The human mind works the same way. Beneath fear, overthinking, and emotional exhaustion, peace still exists. But the mind must learn how to become still enough to reconnect with it. This is why meditation matters so deeply in Buddhism. Meditation is not about escaping reality. It is about learning how to stop constantly reacting to every thought and emotion that appears inside the mind. Most people live completely controlled by thoughts. If the mind says, "You are failing," they immediately believe it. If the mind says, "Something bad will happen," they panic automatically. If the mind says, "You are not enough," they emotionally collapse. But meditation teaches observation instead of automatic reaction. You begin noticing. A thought is appearing, a fear is appearing, an emotion is rising. But you no longer immediately become consumed by it. This creates emotional freedom. A peaceful person still experiences difficult thoughts sometimes, but they no longer allow every thought to control their emotional reality completely. This changes how life feels. Instead of constantly drowning inside mental storms, you begin standing calmly beside them. Many people think peace means having zero problems. But the Buddha never taught that life would become perfect. Pain, uncertainty, loss, and difficulty are part of being human. Inner peace does not come from eliminating every challenge from life. It comes from changing your relationship with those challenges. A peaceful mind still experiences pain, but it stops adding unnecessary suffering on top of the pain. This is wisdom. For example, when something painful happens, the untrained mind often creates additional suffering through endless mental resistance. Why did this happen? This should not be happening. My life is ruined. I will never recover. The mind keeps feeding emotional suffering repeatedly. But a peaceful mind responds differently. It accepts reality more calmly instead of fighting it constantly. This does not mean becoming emotionless. It means becoming more balanced internally. This balance changes everything. Many people destroy their emotional health by constantly resisting reality itself. They resist change, resist uncertainty, resist imperfection, resist pain. They want life to obey their expectations perfectly. But life constantly changes. People change, situations change, emotions change, bodies change. The Buddha taught impermanence because understanding impermanence weakens attachment and emotional panic. When you deeply understand that everything changes, you stop clinging so desperately to every situation. You stop mentally collapsing every time life shifts unexpectedly. Instead, you begin flowing with life more peacefully. Many people are also trapped inside comparison and self-judgment constantly. They look at others and feel behind. They think everyone else is happier, more successful, more attractive, or more fulfilled. But comparison creates endless dissatisfaction because there will always be someone who appears ahead of you in some way. The Buddha taught gratitude and awareness because peace becomes impossible when the mind constantly focuses only on what is missing. A peaceful person learns how to appreciate what already exists, not because life is perfect, but because gratitude softens the emotional hunger of the mind. This is why mindfulness changes life so deeply. When you become more present, ordinary moments begin feeling meaningful again. You notice your breathing, you notice silence, you notice nature, you notice connection, you notice beauty in small things. The distracted mind misses these moments because it constantly lives somewhere else. Most people are physically alive but mentally absent from their own existence. They eat while distracted, walk while distracted, speak while distracted, live while distracted. As a result, life passes quickly without being deeply experienced. But when awareness returns, life feels different. Simple moments become enough again. This is one of the most beautiful changes inner peace creates. You stop needing constant stimulation to feel alive. You stop needing endless validation to feel valuable. You stop needing perfection to feel grateful. The heart becomes lighter. Another reason inner peace changes life so deeply is because it transforms relationships. A restless mind often creates conflict, insecurity, jealousy, emotional dependency, and fear inside relationships. Many people seek relationships, hoping another person will finally fix their emptiness. But no relationship can permanently create peace for someone whose own mind constantly creates suffering internally. This is why emotionally peaceful people usually build healthier relationships. They are less desperate for validation, less reactive emotionally, less controlled by fear and insecurity. They bring calmness instead of chaos. The Buddha taught that attachment creates suffering because people become emotionally dependent on external things for stability. But when inner peace grows stronger, relationships become healthier because love is no longer controlled entirely by fear and desperation. You stop clinging so tightly. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop mentally collapsing over every small issue. This creates emotional maturity. Many people also waste enormous amounts of life carrying resentment and emotional pain from the past. They replay betrayals repeatedly. They mentally relive painful experiences every day. But inner peace requires letting go, not because what happened was acceptable, but because carrying emotional poison forever only destroys the person holding it. The Buddha taught compassion because hatred burns the mind carrying it. A peaceful mind understands, I do not want to spend my life emotionally chained to pain forever. This awareness creates healing. The truth is, the life most people truly want is not only about success or achievements. Deep down, most people want peace. They want to wake up without constant anxiety. They want to rest without guilt. They want to stop overthinking every moment. They want to feel emotionally free. They want their mind to finally become quiet. This is why inner peace matters more than many people realize. Without peace, even success feels incomplete. Without peace, relationships feel unstable. Without peace, ordinary life feels emotionally exhausting. But with peace, life becomes lighter, not perfect, but lighter. You handle problems differently. You recover emotionally faster. You appreciate moments more deeply. You stop turning every difficulty into a mental disaster. This is emotional freedom. The Buddha understood that the human mind can either become a prison or a source of liberation, depending on how it is trained. An untrained mind creates endless suffering. A peaceful mind creates clarity, compassion, gratitude, and emotional balance. This is why protecting your inner world matters so deeply. Not every thought deserves your belief. Not every emotion deserves complete control over your actions. Not every distraction deserves your attention. A peaceful person becomes careful about what enters the mind, because they understand the mind shapes reality emotionally. Many people spend years trying to improve every part of life externally while ignoring the condition of their own mind completely. But eventually they realize, no external achievement can permanently replace inner peace. This realization changes priorities. You stop wanting endless drama. You stop wanting constant chaos. You stop chasing meaningless validation so desperately. Instead, you begin wanting stillness, balance, presence, freedom from unnecessary suffering. And this is where real transformation begins. Not when life becomes perfect, but when your relationship with life becomes peaceful. Because the life you truly want does not begin the day the world changes completely. It begins the moment your own mind finally becomes calm enough to experience life differently. 17. You were not born to spend your entire life mentally suffering. Many people have lived with stress, overthinking, fear, anxiety, emotional pain, and inner chaos for so long that they have started believing suffering is simply a normal part of being alive. They wake up mentally exhausted every day and continue functioning anyway. They smile around people while silently fighting battles inside their own mind. They constantly carry emotional pressure in their chest, yet they rarely stop long enough to ask themselves an important question. Was I really meant to live like this forever? In Buddhism, suffering is recognized as part of human life, but the Buddha also taught something very powerful. Much of human suffering is unnecessary suffering created by the mind itself. Pain may be unavoidable sometimes, but endless mental torture is not the natural state of the human soul. Many people do not realize how much of their emotional suffering comes from habits of the mind that have been repeated for years. Constant overthinking, constant comparison, constant fear, constant attachment, constant self-judgment, constant emotional resistance. These patterns slowly become automatic, and eventually people forget what inner peace even feels like. This is why so many individuals secretly feel emotionally trapped. Their body is alive, but mentally they feel exhausted all the time. Even during peaceful moments, the mind continues creating stress. One small problem becomes a disaster. One criticism ruins the whole day. One fear creates hours of anxiety. One painful memory gets replayed endlessly. The mind becomes a machine constantly producing suffering. The Buddha understood this deeply. He taught that the uncontrolled mind can become one of the greatest sources of pain in human life. Not because the mind itself is evil, but because most people never learn how to observe it consciously. They believe every thought automatically. They react emotionally to every feeling immediately. They become controlled by fear, anger, jealousy, insecurity, and craving without awareness. As a result, suffering multiplies continuously. Imagine carrying a heavy bag on your shoulders every single day without ever putting it down. At first, the weight may feel manageable, but slowly your body becomes exhausted. Your back hurts. Your energy disappears. Eventually, carrying the weight begins damaging your entire life. This is exactly how mental suffering works. Most people are not only carrying today's problems, they are carrying yesterday's pain, tomorrow's fears, old regrets, insecurities, imagined disasters, comparison, guilt, resentment, and endless emotional pressure all at once. No wonder the soul feels tired. Many people secretly believe they must continue living this way forever. They think, this is just how life is. I will always feel stressed. I will always overthink. I will always be emotionally exhausted. But Buddhism teaches something hopeful. The mind can change. Inner peace is possible, not because life becomes perfect, but because awareness changes your relationship with suffering itself. This is where healing begins. The Buddha taught that awareness is the first step toward freedom, because you cannot change patterns you never notice consciously. Most people move through life completely identified with every thought and emotion inside their mind. If anger appears, they become anger. If fear appears, they become fear. If insecurity appears, they become insecurity. But mindfulness teaches something different. You are not every thought your mind produces. You are not every emotion passing through you. Thoughts and feelings are temporary experiences, not permanent identity. This realization changes everything. The moment you begin observing your mind instead of blindly becoming controlled by it, suffering begins losing some of its power. You start noticing how often the mind exaggerates problems, how often fear creates imaginary disasters, how often comparison destroys gratitude, how often attachment creates anxiety, and slowly, awareness creates emotional distance between you and these patterns. Many people spend their entire life mentally fighting reality itself. They resist change constantly. They resist uncertainty. They resist pain. They resist imperfection. They resist the fact that life cannot always be controlled. But this resistance creates additional suffering on top of life's natural challenges. For example, pain itself may last for a moment, but the mind continues repeating, "This should not be happening. Why me? I cannot handle this. My life is ruined." The emotional resistance keeps suffering alive much longer than necessary. The Buddha taught acceptance not because he wanted people to become passive, but because fighting reality endlessly destroys inner peace. Acceptance means seeing life clearly, without constantly mentally battling against what already exists. This creates emotional calmness. Many people are also deeply attached to control. They want certainty about the future. They want guarantees that nothing painful will happen. They want relationships to stay unchanged forever. They want life to move according to their plans. But life itself is unpredictable. Everything changes eventually. People change, bodies change, situations change. And when the mind refuses to accept this reality, fear grows stronger. This is why attachment creates suffering. The more tightly you cling to things being permanent, the more anxious the mind becomes about losing them. But a peaceful mind understands impermanence, not in a hopeless way, but in a freeing way. Because once you accept that life constantly changes, you stop panicking every time reality shifts unexpectedly. You stop expecting perfect stability from an unstable world. This creates emotional freedom. Many people also emotionally destroy themselves through comparison. They constantly measure their worth against other people's appearance, success, relationships, and achievements. Social media has made this even worse because people now compare their real life to carefully edited versions of someone else's life every single day. As a result, millions secretly feel inadequate. They think, "I am behind, I am not successful enough, I am not attractive enough. Everyone else seems happier than me." But comparison is endless. There will always be someone richer, someone more successful, someone more attractive, someone further ahead in some way. If your peace depends on becoming better than everyone else, peace will never fully arrive. The Buddha taught gratitude because gratitude weakens the emotional hunger of the mind. A grateful mind stops obsessing constantly over what is missing and begins appreciating what already exists. This changes the emotional experience of life itself. A peaceful person may still have goals and dreams, but they stop basing their entire self-worth on external comparison. This creates emotional stability. Another major cause of suffering is attachment to painful memories. Many people continue mentally reliving moments that already ended years ago. They replay betrayals repeatedly, replay embarrassing moments repeatedly, replay failures repeatedly. The body moved forward in time, but the mind remained trapped in the past. This creates emotional imprisonment. The Buddha taught that attachment to the past creates suffering because life only exists in the present moment. The past cannot be changed anymore, yet millions of people continue emotionally punishing themselves through endless mental replaying. A peaceful mind learns from the past without permanently living inside it. This does not mean forgetting pain completely. It means no longer feeding it constant emotional energy every day. Many people also suffer because they constantly reject themselves internally. They feel unworthy of peace, love, happiness, or healing. Their inner dialogue becomes cruel and exhausting. You are not enough. You always fail. You will never change. Over time, the mind becomes emotionally unsafe to live inside. But Buddhism teaches compassion toward yourself as well. You are a human being, not a machine. You will struggle sometimes. You will feel lost sometimes. You will make mistakes. This does not make you broken. Inner peace grows when self-hatred becomes weaker. This is important because many people spend years searching for peace externally, while emotionally attacking themselves internally every single day. But peace cannot grow inside constant self-rejection. Healing begins the moment you stop treating yourself like an enemy. The modern world also encourages constant busyness and overstimulation. People rarely rest mentally anymore. Even during silence, they scroll through distractions endlessly because stillness feels uncomfortable. But the nervous system cannot remain overloaded forever without consequences. Eventually, emotional burnout appears. This is why so many people secretly feel numb, disconnected, anxious, or exhausted. Their mind never fully rests. The Buddha taught stillness because stillness allows the mind to breathe again. A calm walk, a quiet moment, mindful breathing, meditation, silence. These simple things seem small, but they slowly heal parts of the mind that constant stimulation destroys. Many people underestimate how deeply the environment affects the mind. Constant negativity, toxic relationships, endless drama, and unhealthy social comparison slowly poison emotional peace. This is why protecting your energy matters. Not every argument deserves your attention. Not every person deserves access to your inner peace. Not every thought deserves your belief. A peaceful person becomes more intentional about what enters their mind because they understand the mind absorbs everything repeatedly experienced. The truth is, many people are emotionally addicted to suffering patterns because they have repeated them for so long that they feel normal. Overthinking feels normal. Stress feels normal. Anxiety feels normal. Emotional exhaustion feels normal. But normal does not always mean healthy. You were not born to spend every day mentally overwhelmed. You were not born to constantly fear life. You were not born to constantly hate yourself. You were not born to carry endless emotional chaos inside your mind. The Buddha taught that freedom from suffering becomes possible through awareness, compassion, mindfulness, and letting go of unhealthy attachment. This path takes time. The mind will not transform overnight. Years of emotional habits require patience to heal, but every moment of awareness matters. Every time you pause instead of reacting impulsively. Every time you let go of unnecessary overthinking. Every time you choose compassion instead of self-hatred. Every time you return your attention to the present moment, you weaken suffering little by little, and slowly peace begins growing again. Many people are waiting for life itself to become peaceful before allowing themselves to feel calm internally. But life may never become perfectly peaceful externally. There will still be uncertainty, still challenges, still pain sometimes. But inner peace changes how deeply those things control your emotional state. Instead of constantly mentally collapsing, you become more emotionally grounded. Instead of fighting reality endlessly, you begin accepting life more gently. Instead of drowning inside thoughts, you begin observing them calmly. This is emotional freedom. The Buddha understood that the mind can either become a prison or a path toward peace, depending on how it is trained. An unconscious mind creates suffering automatically. An aware mind creates freedom. This is why mindfulness matters so deeply, because the more aware you become, the less power suffering patterns have over your life. And eventually, you begin realizing something beautiful. You were never meant to spend your entire existence emotionally trapped inside fear, overthinking, attachment, and mental exhaustion. You were meant to experience peace too. Not perfect peace every second of life, but moments of calmness, moments of presence. Moments where the mind finally becomes quiet enough to simply experience being alive without constant suffering. And those moments are more valuable than many people realize. Because once the mind finally experiences genuine peace, even for a short time, something inside you remembers. This is how life was always meant to feel. At the end of life, many things people spent years worrying about will no longer matter. The arguments will fade. The opinions will lose their power. The pressure to impress everyone will disappear. The money, status, attention, and endless achievements will all remain behind. But one thing will deeply matter. Did you ever truly feel peace while you were alive? In Buddhism, inner peace is one of the greatest treasures a human being can experience. But most people sacrifice it every day without realizing it. They give their peace to fear, overthinking, comparison, attachment, anger, regret, and the endless need to control everything. They keep waiting for life to become perfect before they allow themselves to feel calm. But life never becomes completely perfect. There will always be change, uncertainty, problems, and responsibilities. That is why peace must be created inside you, not postponed for some future day. The Buddha taught that suffering begins when the mind becomes attached, restless, and unaware. But peace begins when you wake up to your own thoughts, emotions, habits, and reactions. When you stop believing every fear. When you stop carrying every painful memory. When you stop chasing validation from people who cannot give your soul lasting peace. When you stop mentally torturing yourself over a life that is already short. You do not need to wait until everything is solved before you breathe deeply. You do not need to wait until everyone understands you before you feel calm. You do not need to wait until you become perfect before you deserve peace. Peace begins when you stop fighting yourself. It begins when you let go of what is too heavy. It begins when you stop giving your energy to things that do not truly matter. It begins when you become present enough to notice this moment, this breath, this life, before it disappears forever. Life is not endless. One day, everything you know will become a memory. One day, your body will grow tired. One day, your final breath will come. And when that day arrives, the greatest regret will not be that you did not worry more, chase more, or impress more people. The greatest regret will be realizing that you spent your precious life mentally exhausted, while peace was quietly waiting inside you all along. So from today, protect your mind, protect your energy, protect your heart. Do not carry every thought. Do not react to every emotion. Do not chase every desire. Do not let every small problem steal your soul. Slow down. Breathe. Let go. Return to yourself. Because life is already short, and you deserve to experience inner peace before your time here is over.